I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. That's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Thursday night, which smells like a Troubled Minds Friday night to me, because, well, this is the show where we get together Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific, to talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what those things are. You know what those things are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As you know, we do this live to include you. We are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM, and we're taking your phone calls. As we discussed tonight, the idea of the seer archetype, the idea of, well, your mind's eye, and, well, how about the third eye and all the rest of this? It seems like there's a lot of this seer sort of mystic stuff that goes back a long ways in history, that goes back a long ways in mythology and a lot of these different things. And I think it's pretty interesting that we're still kind of talking about that in different terms today. Maybe we call these people psychotic or crazy, or we call these people dreamers, or maybe they're fooling themselves. Who knows? There's a lot to this, and I think it's definitely worthy of a conversation. So that's what we're going to do tonight. But as always, right, you know me, I'm not, again, back to the Galactic Federation ambassador. I don't know one. Well, shout out to Ryan Gable if you're listening. I don't have any inside sources. I don't have anything other than I read a lot of things. I watch news cycles. I talk to you guys, and you guys are basically the secret weapon of troubled minds. And so I've learned more from the people that listen to this show than I've learned reading on the interwebs and, reading news cycles and, just the fake stuff, the fake news that they try and feed us all the time. It's a little bit embarrassing, in my opinion, just because it's really not worthy of discussion so many times, except in the periphery of, well, look, they're trying to fool us again. They're trying to give us information that is, only half accurate. The rest of that, and it kind of makes me mad. And so here we go. Hey, you want to talk about crazy stuff? we got your crazy stuff right here, don't we? And that's what we're doing tonight. Usually, as you guys know, it sometimes it gets wild in here because this is conversations, in my opinion, that need to be had. Ideas about esoterics, ideas about the powers of the brain, ideas about maybe things we don't know yet that are somehow maybe conflated with the power of magic versus technology that we have not yet discovered. And I think there's a compelling conversation there, and that's what we're doing. That's what we do on this show, and that's what this show is really all about. So there we go. So as we go and start digging into this, I don't know a lot about this. Again, the mind's eye, the third eye. I've been reading up a little bit on it, but I'm still not an expert, and so I'm relying on you guys. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, part of the discussion, you can give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. You can also go to troubledminds.org and click the Discord link. And Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's completely free. It's how a lot of the folks that contribute to this show, a lot of the callers, a lot of the friends of mine, a lot of the friends of Troubled Minds, they congregate there. It's sort of like the old school saloon, right? Where except it's a new school saloon because it's where we sidle up to the Discord and everybody knows your name like Cheers, if you remember that song and that whole song and dance. But anyway, so I digress a little bit. But do join the Discord. It's fantastic. It's an old school chat client. It's a voice client. You can use it like a telephone. You can also share links and ideas and videos and images, and you got it. And that's the whole point of Discord. It's pretty amazing stuff. And there you go. So please join that. troubledminds.org is the official website. Click the Discord link. Of course, all things Troubled Minds are also right there on the website. You can find not just the podcast, you can find all the social media, you can find all kinds of amazing things, the YouTube channel. Many of you guys are listening to us on the YouTube channel right now. And well, there we go. Lots there. Don't miss it if you guys haven't seen it. I'm also working on just doing write-ups. Like I'm starting some writing, right? Started some writing today, so I'm going to try and force myself to do a little bit more writing as we go, because it seems like a lot of this discoverability on the interwebs is based on people writing things. And the discussions we have here, I think, are amazing, fantastic in so many ways, and I think it's doing a disservice to basically the people that want to find us by not doing, sort of maybe not extensive write-ups on, 3-hour conversations, but at least, some sort of recaps and some of the questions that we've asked in regard to this. So I'm starting that. I got a Substack going. I'll also have a Medium account that I'm firing up, and I'll start doing that sort of thing as well. So just so you guys know, that's what's going on. That's what I've been working on. As always, I juggle so many things. I'm trying to actually, break this show through, because it's amazing. It's incredible, and I don't say that out of ego. I say that out of the incredible people that show up night after night with just amazing thoughts, amazing takes, and here we are. So there we go. That's that. Again, we're streaming Rockfin YouTube and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. So please also join the Fringe Discord at fringe.fm/chat. That will give you a direct invite. And also do a, let's see, what else? Also download the Fringe app. You can find it for free at your favorite app store if you use Apple or Android. It's all there, completely free. The easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is you just smash the actual play button at 7 o'clock Monday through Thursday, and you'll get me, you'll get us, you'll get Troubled Minds, and then also with the Fringe app, you'll get all the rest of the amazing programming that comes along with Fringe. So there we go. I think that kind of sums it up on where we're at and where we're going. So please give the thumbs ups, guys, out there in the places where we're streaming. I'd appreciate that very much. But okay, so here's where we start tonight. Got this idea, this seer archetype. Okay, many of you have heard of Baba Vanga and the blind is it Bulgarian seer, I think, that passed away in like 1996, somewhere in that range, and was supposedly able to see visions of the future, see visions of the past, see things that you shouldn't actually be able to see through normal means, right? Through just normal, everyday, this, that, or the other thing, right? So I don't know. I think the odd part here is that, I do believe that the human brain sort of has this extra sensory ability. What it is, I don't know. And I think it may depend on the individual. I think it may depend on practice. I think it may depend on a lot of things. But, do I believe we can float in the lotus pose and glow? I don't know about that, but if you can, let me know because I'd love to see it. I want to learn how to totally do that. If any of you guys know how to actually lotus pose, float, and glow. That's is that a good aspiration? Because I'm aspiring to maybe do that one day. So anyway, all right. So here we go. So this is where this begins. All right. As you guys know, all my links are down in the description below. You can find them, of course, on YouTube right now, or they will end up in the podcast feed as well. Because I want you guys to see where I got this information from. I'm not just hip shooting entirely and making stuff up. There are some actual things out there that suggest there's some truth here. Let's start with some science. Let's go to IFL Science, and this is the one that kind of piqued my interest today. I was like, oh, this is kind of hot. Listen to this. Headline is this: you can tell if someone doesn't have a mind's eye by looking at their pupils. Yeah, right? Okay, here we go. Now listen to this. This gets pretty wild. This is, for most people, answering questions like, okay, here we go. Let's do the thought experiment first. Let's do a thought experiment straight from the article on IFL Science. Imagine a ball sitting on a table. Now, imagine some person comes in and pushes that ball, making it roll across the surface of the table until it reaches the edge and falls to the floor. Simple, right? Yeah, no problem. Now, here's the question. What color hair did the person have? The next question. What color was the ball? All right, so after you've seen an image of this, a video or whatever, it's typically easy for you to sort of just reassess that image that you saw in your mind's eye, maybe have some sort of a recall and be able to see the color of the ball or the color of the person's hair that pushed the ball off the table, right? Just a very simple example. But what ends up happening with this gets even more weird, is that some people can't. They don't have a sort of mind's eye recollection of things. So here we go. For most people, answering those questions would have been something between easy peasy and doable. But for a small number, maybe only 1 to 3% of us, it would have been literally impossible. That's because they have what's known as aphantasia, a complete lack of visual imagination or the mind's eye. Now, if you're somebody who already has a diagnosis of aphantasia, chances are you had to go through a diagnostic test much like the one above, right? Rolling the ball off, somebody comes in, what color is the ball, what color is their hair, something like this, right? But a new study recently published in the journal eLife has found a new way of confirming the condition by measuring pupil dilation caused by imaginary darkness. What a term. Imaginary darkness. Now, look, I was going to name the show tonight Imaginary Darkness just because I love that term so much. I don't even know what the hell it means, but how hot is that? Imaginary darkness. Broadcasting out into the digital darkness from my imaginary darkness, troubled minds. Anyway, quote, our results, this is back to the article, our results show an exciting new objective method to measure visual imagery and the first physiological evidence of aphantasia, reported senior author Joel Pearson. We are now close to an objective physiological test, like a blood test, to see if someone truly has it. Currently, aphantasia can be pretty difficult phenomenon to measure, and it's not hard to see why. Take the exercise above, for example. Maybe you could visualize the ball, but not the person. Does that count as having this affliction known as aphantasia? Or perhaps you thought you were acing it until we asked about color. And are you now wondering if it's normal to only imagine things in black and white? Maybe you could imagine the ball, but not really visualize it, and are now left wondering whether that's what we meant, or if everyone else is basically surrounded voluntarily by hallucinations most of the day. What they're saying here is it's not an actual exact science, but they're able to, through this new method, be able to measure pupil dilation when they're asking these sorts of questions and, determine if they actually have this mind's eye. What's up there? Shout out to the Night Stalker out there. How you doing, buddy? Him and I were actually talking. He's called in the past quite often. A great dude, Derek in Massachusetts, and he said one day, this was a while back, but he said, like, can you imagine not having an internal monologue, right? Like me, like basically what you're hearing in my brain, like coming out of my mouth, it's just a lot of practice. I'm not amazing. I'm pretty good at this, but it's a lot of practice. It's as your brain thinks, your mouth spits it out, right? It's a simple thing. But when I'm not speaking, I still also have an internal monologue happening, in the sense that if somebody's speaking, even if I'm not answering, I'm sort of processing and sort of like answering, let's say telepathically, right? If somebody asks a question hypothetically, I'm thinking about it and it's coming through my brain, whether I'm speaking or not, right? And so my thoughts, in this case, you hear through my mouth, right? But again, in that sense, back to the idea of a personal monologue, what about this idea of the mind's eye? If there are some people that do or do not have that personal monologue, like when it's quiet and there's nothing going on, are you thinking about something? Number one, right? Or number two, are you actually visualizing something? And can you? And so again, they're saying this this affliction known as aphantasia is something where you cannot have that recall, that vision recall of what you just saw. Okay, even if it's not a video, if you saw something in nature, let's say you saw a car accident, right? And God forbid, let's say in the car accident, this hypothetical car accident, nobody got hurt. Okay, we'll start there because I don't want anybody to get hurt, even in the periphery of maybe suggesting it might happen. Okay, but in the next sense, it's like, okay, so you saw it, you witnessed this fender bender, but then you walk away, right? And you're trying to remember the details of it, and you can't have that recall of the vision in your head. You can't recall the color of the cars. You can't recall what the people look like. And I guess this is a real thing for a small percentage of people. Now, is anybody out there like that? Like that's the first thing I want to ask tonight regarding the questions, because of course this is the question show. This is not the answer show. But is anybody out there, do they have that problem? It's sort of a creative visualization. What's up, Danny? I see there in the chat. That's exactly what it is. Creative visualization. It's like filling in the blanks, recreating a scene, like the crime scene, right? Kind of recreating it. It doesn't have to be a crime, but right, you see what I'm saying? Sort of recreating that idea of something that's past. It's being able to sort of, I guess in a sense, you could even say time travel and recollect, well, what was there visually? I don't know. So here's the weird part, all right? So does anybody have this? And number one, so that's the first question. Does anybody have a problem with that creative visualization, all right? That's the first one. That's the first question. Number two, do you think there's anything different or odd regarding this idea of aphantasia, is what they call it? And meaning that, let's say for me, I don't have a problem with that. My creative visualization is pretty good, right? In most cases. And, well, does that mean that somebody that does not is somehow tapped into something else? Meaning that maybe their brain works differently, in a good way, in a better way even, to maybe somehow be, I don't know, what's known as a seer, or be able to have a journey into their mind's eye that is, let's say, more metaphysical, more paranormal than just a creative visualization of something. So I don't know. I think there's a lot here just in terms of what is this? What's going on with the brain? How come some brains work so differently in the fact that they can't recreate a scene like this and say that this car was blue, that car was red, one was an SUV, one was a hatchback, that type of thing, right? But I don't know, is there something more going on in the brain, right? Is basically the underlying question of tonight. And what about this idea of not just the mind's eye in the sense of this scientific term, but what about the idea of the mind's eye in, let's say, a woo-woo term? Woo-woo, right? The honk, the woo-woo on the train. So we're going to get on the woo-woo train tonight and, of course, speculate a little bit, because that's what we do. Call it drinking the maybe juice on this show, which, of course, is just a crude way of saying that, like Aristotle said, it's the mark of an educated mind to consider a thought without accepting it. And that's basically the whole premise of Troubled Minds. Talk about wacky stuff, and is this stuff real or not? And some some of you may be able to access some of these skills, some of these more supernatural type skills, these more paranormal type, maybe sixth sense type skills that other people cannot. All right. And so that's the question tonight. That's what's on my mind. So number one, again, does anybody have this thing called aphantasia, meaning that they cannot revisualize, like a creative revisualization of something that happened recently or even in the past? Okay. Like a sort of a recall of events in a, let's say, in a photographic way. Not exact details, of course, but enough to recreate the scene visually in your mind's eye. Okay, does anybody have a problem with that? Number two, if you do, or what happens if you think people have that problem? Do you think their brain is maybe tapped into something else and works some other way, like the antennas, like we talk about all the time? Maybe kind of locked into some other thing that we can't perceive as people, as society, well, yet. All right, yet. So there we go. That's the first couple things on my mind. But then the next becomes, well, what about the power of the human mind? We've talked about that quite a lot, right? And what about this seer archetype? And so meaning that there are lots of ways you can actually look into this. And so let's say this, just scientifically speaking, this creative revisualization of things, you're able to do this. But then let's say that you're able to creatively visualize things that you've never seen before, right? Meaning that you're able to maybe dip into the past some way, somehow, and maybe access images of a different time in a different place, right? The seer, we've got one that can see, right? So I don't know, like those are my questions tonight. Does anybody, can anybody tap into this? And you can actually sort of, maybe, I guess we can get into some remote viewing tonight. We can get into this idea of the mind's eye, the third eye, if you want to talk about that. As you know me, I'm into all kinds of stuff and want to consider all the possibilities here. And I can't remember, somebody in the chat said a while back, and I really love this. It's not necessarily that we go deep on this show. We go wide. And what that means is it's non-linear, it's open-ended, and we can take this wherever we want. And including, if you think this is all a bunch of BS, that's completely fine too. I'm open to those ideas as well. Just because it's a paranormal, aliens, and that type of talk show, it doesn't mean that I believe everything that we talk about, because you can't. If you believe everything, well, I think there's a, what do they say? Was it Einstein? Somebody said this. I know Art Bell definitely said this, that you should have an open mind, but not so open that your brain falls out. So there you go. I don't know who originally said that, but I know it's been attributed to Art Bell. So anyway, so point being is that, look, the seer archetype here, what is going on with this? Are there actual superpowers within us somehow, some way, in our brain, that if we can't maybe visualize, revisualize creatively something that happened and sort of reconstruct a scene from memory in a visual way, is there something else happening inside of people's brains that may be a little different than that? So there we go. That's what I'm talking about tonight. And there we go. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think the answer is maybe, in that I don't know. I don't know, because I can't do this. And I do hear, some people say that they can access sort of this, I don't know, maybe you want to call it like an out-of-body sort of thing, or you can maybe access partially or even in full the Akashic record. Things like this. There's kind of a lot of ways to look at this, or, kind of the Edgar Cayce way of seeing things, that you kind of go into a trance or like a meditation, and you're able to somehow maybe dip into the past, just with your brain, sort of time travel with your brain. I almost did a show on time travel tonight, by the way. But again, since it's open-ended as it is and non-linear, if you want to talk about time travel in your mind, we can do that too. Because why the hell not, right? Nobody tells us what to talk about. Nobody tells us what to think. And more importantly, nobody tells us what to say. So there we go. That's what's on my mind tonight. What do you believe about this? The seer archetype, the mind's eye. Is it more than it seems, or is it just that creative revisualization? That's what I'm talking about tonight, and I'm wondering what you know about it. So there we go. That's basically the premise here, and I think that pretty much lays it out just fine. And as you know, like I said, like I always say, the actual secret weapon of troubled minds is you. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this seer archetype, the journey into the mind's eye, and is this stuff actually real? There we go. And of course, we got, looks like Joseph calling. We'll get to him in just a moment. I see you, Joseph. What we're going to do, what's up, shout out to S Magician over there on Fringe FM Discord. How are you? What we're going to do is take your phone calls. What do you think? Is it possible to somehow be able to use the mind's eye in a way other than just visual reconstruction of something you've physically seen. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More Seers, The Mind's Eye, Aphantasia, and your calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Looking to hear your phone calls tonight as we discuss this idea of the mind's eye. Is it simply a creative reconstruction of the things you've seen around you as a sort of a recall, sort of accessing your memories from a database? Or do you think it's a lot more weird than that? Love to hear your thoughts talking about the archetype of the seer tonight, the third eye, and, well, maybe Baba Vanga. We'll maybe get to her tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Put you on the Discord as well, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. We'll put you on the show that way. Let's go to Joseph in Iowa. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm all right.
Right on. What are your thoughts, my man? What about this mind's eye?
I want to talk about it, the mind's eye. Well, I wanted to kind of talk about an experience that I guided people out of their bodies, and we all saw our bodies from above, right? So we were all, I think I was like 15 years old. We all we were all smoking and stuff. And like we separated from the main group, and we were all just chilling and just like running the streets in the middle of the night and stuff. And we come to this park, and in the grass, we sit down in the middle of this field, right? And I tell everyone, like, watch this. Like, I knew what was going to happen. Like, at least this is how I remember it. You know, I could be doing what you're saying is recreating, but I know, I do kind of do that sometimes, but I don't think I do. I don't know. I think I'm pretty accurate with my stories, but like I did like a hum. It was like a weird tone. Like you hit a tone, right? And you can kind of adjust the tone. And it, like I wrote about it earlier, it's like a chant kind of almost, and you get into this like zone, right? And it's almost like you're sinking to yourself. You're sinking to yourself, and everyone else gets synced. And like once you're out of your body, like you ever seen like the genie bottle? How like a genie comes out the bottle, but its tail is still attached.
I haven't seen that representation, but that sounds pretty wild. But explain that to me. What do you mean? So the genie has a. Wait, it's a smoke tail, right? It's like smoke.
That's just like a metaphor. It's like a smoke. It comes out, but like its tail is still kind of in there, you know?
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
I don't know if you can and so like that's kind of like what like when I was doing this humming, everyone was describing that they were seeing themselves, and it's kind of like when we were talking to each other, we were on the ground. Like you can hear, it sounds like it's coming out your ears, but you're seeing third person, and you're seeing like, I don't know what it was. It's really, really, really trippy. Really, I don't know.
Okay, so you say
I think it was weird. What's that?
Go ahead and finish.
I think it was weird that like I was able to trigger like all like it was like a guided thing. It's kind of like, I don't know, like what was I really don't know where I was going with it.
Well, no, okay. So I've heard something like this where they say that this happens with ayahuasca. I've never tried it, so I don't know. But I heard this Alex Jones talking about this in particular terms, that with ayahuasca, you're able to have group hallucinations, or sort of leave the area you're in, the physical area that you're in, and journey together into some other realm or some other space, and have these shared visions or shared dreams. So is that kind of what you're talking about, where you were able to lead sort of this group of people into a vision that everybody had collectively?
Yeah, it's like we were together up there, but it was not like a trippy hallucination. Like, you could see yourself, like, physically, like you're there on the grass and you're looking down. It's kind of scary. Like, you can see yourself, but you're up there, like your energy. If you close your eyes, you almost don't feel like a body, right? If you focus enough, like, you can focus on your arms, you can focus on your legs, but like, if you focus on like certain energy, you can become like a ball. Really like a fuzz almost.
Like an orb. And you turn into
really
an orb.
That's what you are, is like when it comes out of your body, like that's what kind of you are. But like when you hear and you're talking, you know, like you're on the ground. You can hear on the ground. I don't know, like we were still, so I don't know if like something like a field mouse came up on me. I don't know if I'd be able to feel it, but I'm guessing I still had feeling.
Okay. All right. So do you think then again this was actual like a trip out of your body, sort of like an out of body experience, or do you think it was a trick of maybe looking inside to this idea of the mind's eye? Do you think you were able to somehow access something inside, and it was a sort of that creative representation of what you believed was out there, but you never actually witnessed it directly? How do you think this is working?
If it's like that, then like the outside mind is like playing us like third person. Like it'd be looking down on us, like, right? That'd be pretty weird.
That would be super weird. And life is super weird. So I think that's why these conversations kind of resonate, because life is super weird. Like, what do we make of this, right? What makes you and me, right? I mean, just that type of like basic question is still mind blowing. But okay, so what's your idea here? So do you think then that you can actually, in these terms, be able to use your mind's eye to travel, not just, again, time travel maybe, or actually travel? Or are we just fooling ourselves? What's actually happening here?
You'd have to have something to travel to, I would think. That's for sure. You'd have to get something to travel to, but I don't know how it works, if it's even possible to travel. But it does have me thinking about that episode where we were talking about the UFO. Like, I wonder if you can get people into these ayahuasca trips naturally through, I mean, if I was able to get a group of people out of their body when I was 15, I wonder what they can do.
Right, through like meditation and practice.
In those tribes, I think one of your callers were talking about like Aborigines, where then they're real manic and stuff, man. Like they get real crazy. Like I imagine, like if you go to some of their rituals and stuff, I don't know, maybe you are traveling to another planet where humans are living more violently.
Yeah, it could be. Exactly. Maybe a string theory and like popping into other dimensions. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know exactly how far this goes with the power of the mind, but I do believe that there's a lot of untapped potential inside of our brains here. So what's actually going on is the question, right? I don't know, man. Great stuff. What else you got? Theories about the seer, this type of thing, the seer archetype. Do you think these type of people actually do exist?
I don't even know a seer archetype.
It's just people that can actually use their brain in a heightened capacity to be able to either see the future or see the past or things like this.
I think a lot of people can, actually. I think that's one of the things that we developed. I think I heard that somewhere, that we're really good at making like predictions and stuff. And like sometimes I even feel like I wrote one time like decisions are paths paved in gold for some people. Like they're talking about like streets paved in gold, and like I think for some people that's like they're like main or maybe we're all, you know, I don't know.
I don't know either. That's why we're doing this. I wish I had easy answers, bro, but I don't. That's okay. It's okay not to know. So good stuff. So you do believe, though, that this can happen in how it happens. Like we said, maybe you don't need ayahuasca. Maybe through meditation and practice, you can do something like you described when you were 15. I like it. I love the theory. I love the idea, and I appreciate the story, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you.
You too, man. Thanks for calling. Joseph here has a YouTube channel called Hydro Hose. He was actually live streaming before the show tonight. I popped in there to say hi real quick. Do check it out. Links in the description down below. Joseph, good friend of mine, good friend of the show. I appreciate you, bro. Have a great night. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, man. There we go. 702-957-1037. I appreciate getting us kicked off there, Joseph. What do you guys think regarding all this? The question tonight is this. Are there people that are seers, that can actually see things that the rest of us cannot? Or maybe not the rest of us cannot, but maybe the uninitiated cannot see. Meaning that it is a practice, it is a development, it is maybe a meditation, it is who knows what this actually is, because I don't know. But the idea does fascinate me that people for centuries have said that they're able to see things that other people are not able to see. And so I wonder what that is. Looking to hear your thoughts on this. Is this real? Is it not real? Is it somewhere in between? And this idea, too, fascinatingly, back to this idea of where we started tonight on this article from IFL Science, the idea of the mind's eye and us being able to sort of reconstruct things visually. And yes, indeed, if you look closely in the eyeball here, if you guys are watching the stream, there's Shrek in the middle. I was doing this and I was like, what the hell? Why is Shrek there? I noticed that a little bit earlier, too. Anyway, so this aphantasia, a complete lack of a visual imagination, or people that do not have the mind's eye. So what's going on with that? How can that be where most of us can actually sort of reconstruct something visually where other people absolutely cannot? It's sort of like a blank anything. And like Rohan said over there on Rockfin, I agree 100%. To me, I can't do that. I can visually reconstruct something, but if I couldn't do that, I don't know how I'd remember a damn thing ever. So this seems to be a sort of function of just the brain, like a passive function of the brain. But they're saying that there's like around 3% of people that can't actually do this. So what the hell's going on? I want to know what's happening with those 3% of the people, because let's say maybe they're tapped into something else. Their brain is maybe sort of who knows what they're doing. I have no idea. I don't know. That's why we do this. Again, like I always say, answers are easy. I could make up some BS and say, this is the answer. I don't know what the answer is. I hope maybe some of you do, or at least have a good idea to point us in the right direction. What are your thoughts here? What about the seer archetype? What about people that can see things, maybe not reconstruct them visually from memory, but see things that are not in their direct memory at all? Is it possible? Is it not? Is this a function of the Akashic record or an out-of-body experience? Or is it just good old-fashioned fortune telling and being able to kind of tap into some of that? I don't know. Like I said, what's up? Vicky says, yes, some people can see things. Speaking of Vicky, thank you, Vicky, for the kind tip over on Rockfin. I appreciate that very much. Rockfin is monetized. Yeah, we're streaming over there just like on YouTube, and from time to time we get nice folks leave a tip over there, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Vicky. Vicky left a tip and said, let's see, where's my phone? It sends me a text message when this happens, but something to the effect of, thank you, Michael, great shows every night. Thank you for listening, Vicky, I appreciate you, and thanks for being here and listening every night. Okay, so there we go. I don't know. I think this is a pretty strange one to me, because in a lot of ways this idea of the mind is, let's say, sticky, in that it's complicated, right? These things are always complicated. Otherwise, like I said last night, what's up, Jennifer? Shout out to Jennifer. We don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. We consider the larger concepts of not just without, but also within. And in this case, we're looking inside of ourselves and trying to figure out what's going on with the idea of the mind's eye? And what about this idea of the third eye? We're going to get into that tonight as well. I know probably a lot of you out there are into the idea of the third eye, and you can teach me a little bit about it. But there we go. So that's what's happening tonight. So 702-957-1037. What do you know about the seer archetype? Just meaning that there are a group of people that are actually seers in some capacity. And what is with the mind's eye in this visual reconstruction creatively of maybe accessing the database in your brain? How does that fit? How does that work? And what about the people that cannot? They say there's about 3% of the population, estimates, of course, because they haven't tested everybody, but approximately 3% of people cannot visually recreate something in their mind from memory, which seems pretty wild. So 702-957-1037. What do you think? Let's go to MJ in Virginia. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
I'm great, Michael. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks. What do you think? The mind's eye.
It's absolutely possible to see the future, past, or present, as far as using the mind's eye for that.
Okay. And so how is this achieved? Again, like Joseph said, is it take ayahuasca? Is this meditation? Is this practice? Do you think some people are more predisposed? What's going on with this?
Well, more people are some people are predisposed to it. Some aren't. Some have to practice it. It can be achieved by pretty much everybody. When you're talking third eye, it's not the mind's eye. That would be your pineal gland. It also has to do with the back of your head, because that's where the information comes into the back of your head that hits the pineal gland. Then it runs from there up to the third eye. When it hits the third eye, it's like a movie screen inside your head is what happens, so you can see stuff.
Okay, and where does this stuff come from? So you said it comes in from the back of your head. Is it, again, sort of like Edgar Cayce might suggest, and it's like sort of tapping into an Akashic record sort of thing? Or is it something different than that?
I don't see it being Akashic records. I think it's tapping into the person that you're talking to. Because the Akashic records, to me, is a little mythical. It's mythical, in a sense. My experience has always been when you give somebody a reading, they have the information. They hold the information themselves, so you're receiving it directly to whoever you're talking to. Or if it's on a grander scale, like, global, you're still receiving that information from that situation that's going on. And that's why you're able to do past, present, and or future, because that energy is projecting itself into the future as to what might happen with it.
Okay, so it is connected to another person. You're able to maybe tap into their consciousness, and that's where this other information is coming from.
Yeah, we're all connected. That's why you can do it, because we're all connected. We're never not connected with the person standing next to you. You're connected with everybody. People connect with certain people. That's why certain people are attracted to another person, and sometimes another person will repel you because you're connected with them. Whatever's going on, good, bad, or indifferent, you're connected with them all times. That's why it's possible to do that.
Okay, interesting. So it is some predisposition to this. Some people have to practice, but with those connections, we are all part of this network of people. I love it. Okay, so then what about the next step? What about being able to not just sort of connect with, let's say, somebody now? Let's say you could just tap into my brain right now, that type of thing. We could communicate sort of, maybe not directly, but sort of in an indirect way. What about being able to see the past or the future through this idea of maybe not the mind's eye, but let's say the third eye or something like that? What do you know about that?
Well, the mind's eye and the third eye are the exact same thing. So what happens with the past happenings still resonate in energy because it lives inside that person, okay? Or, like I said again, like people will visualize, let's say you're walking, I live in the middle of battlefield parks around here, so people go out jogging in them, and they'll see a soldier across the path. That energy from the past it still resonates there. So it's still living. It's still a living energy, and it's still something going on. So they'll see it in the past with their own two eyes. Okay. But it's still putting out an energy or a connection. So that's why you're able to do all of that. And that's why people can see the stuff. And usually if you're jogging or doing things that basically you sort of zone out, you're jogging, listening to music, you're just going, and your mind kind of goes, it's zoning out. That's when you can start seeing the stuff, when your mind's freed up. And you're a bit of zoning, and that's when stuff starts to come to you. That's also achieved through meditation.
Okay, so it's sort of that ghostly, like a, what would you say, like an echo of a time past where people left their energy there. So we're sort of tapping into like a ghost, right, or maybe into a different time slip or slice of time, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. For the energy, it's still real. For you, it's in the past, it would be a ghost.
Okay. All right. I love it. Have you had any success with this type of stuff?
Yeah, I used to do readings for a living.
Okay. So this is and were you predisposed to this, or did you have to practice to kind of get anywhere with this?
Nah, it was predisposed. I had, it kind of developed because of family dynamics. At home, and very discerning little child when I grew up, and I basically had to use it for protection, in a sense. So, and as I grew older, it's just something that was always there. I mean, and I was kind of predisposed. I guess I'd say I was predisposed to it too, because I used to do stuff that, when I was probably before the age of 9 or 10, I liked to go out camping in the yard. Very, very brave back then. And I would go out, and I as a little kid, I'd dance around the trees in the moonlight. That's when I go camping, or like go out, sleep out in the tent in the yard. But yeah, I could say I was predisposed because stuff would always be there. I'd always see it. My intuitive was always like there. I just kind of knew stuff was going to happen.
Okay. All right. Interesting. I love it. And so if you had to guess, you said everybody can do it, but how many people do you think are active sort of in this idea of the third eye, being active with their third eye and cognizant of it? Let's say just percentage wise. Is it like super low, like maybe 5% of the population in your experience, or is it something quite a bit higher than that?
If they're actively using it?
Yeah, like
intelligently using it. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I would say maybe 3 to 4% that are actively using it, and I would say the people that are predisposed to it probably be another 50 or 60%. But they're not really using it. But their intuitive kicks in, and they don't quite know it, but they do the right thing when their intuitive kicks in or visually kicks in. But I'd say most people don't use it that often. I'd say it's a very small percentage around the world that people are actually using it. Because when you get into that, you shift into another person, and people see you as this seer or psychic, clairvoyant, whatever they label it, and they kind of put you there. They don't, they're kind of wanting to be around you for that reason. So the separation comes there a little bit. So if they're truly in it, they're and also I find that when I was doing all of this, because I still do it part-time a little bit, but I was doing it all full-time, I was more of a hermit. I would stay someplace where, stay away from people to keep me in that mode.
So it can be interrupted somehow. If you spend too much time with people, it kind of maybe shuts it down a little bit. You got to focus, concentrate, stay hermit style.
No, not really. It's easier on you because you run into so many energies at once. It doesn't shut down. It's just you really have to wall up and keep, really be strong and wall up and keep it away, or keep it organized, I guess.
Okay, I see. As you know, the music hits means we're out of time. MJ, you're the best. I appreciate the phone call. Thanks for the information. Always a pleasure, my friend.
All right, good night.
Have a fantastic night. There you go. That's MJ in Virginia, a good friend of the show, good friend of mine. 702-957-1037. What do you know about the seer? The seer archetype, the mind's eye. What about the third eye? What's going on with this? Is it just a mystery? Is it just a myth? Is it just BS? Love to hear your thoughts. One more time, 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More seers, mind's eye, third eye, and your calls when we return. Be right back. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. And through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so maybe,
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. What's going on, guys? It is Thursday night, which is one of the nights we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. What are those things we're not allowed to talk about? You know what they are. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. As you know, we always do this live to include you. We're streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. If you want to be part of the discussion tonight, we are talking about the seer archetype. And what that means is the mind's eye, the third eye, being able to maybe see within instead of see without. And as a result, see without by seeing within. So you tell me, what do you know about this? Is this, again, just some BS hogwash that you heard in some bad dime store novel? Or is this, well, something else? And is there something actually to this? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll also get to Baba Vanga a little bit later tonight. And this idea that you have sort of a vision inside of your head, that mind's eye, the third eye. Like MJ said in the call there, appreciate that, MJ. Very good stuff. Said that it's the same thing. The mind's eye, the third eye, it is the same thing. It's just how we sort of perceive it and are able to use it, manipulate it, and to sort of tune into the people around us. But again, right, I don't have those answers. I'm looking to hear from you. What do you guys think about this? One more time, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. What's up, Ronald, over on Rockfin? Says, I accidentally disliked the stream. Now you've done it. Banned. You're gone. You're gone, bro. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Let's go to Matt in California. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Doing good, man. Just doing weird stuff like we do. I know this is kind of right down your alley, isn't it? We're talking about something you know a little something about.
Yeah, I want to say I'm digging the background tonight, too.
Oh, right on. Appreciate that.
Yeah, so let's talk about... So we have to remember that there's a difference between our brain and our mind. our brain is a physical organ in our body, and the mind is the psychic, a psychic version of that. So you have in your brain, in your physical brain, they have the pineal gland, and it's in the middle of your head, and it's in the middle of your brain. It's the shape of an acorn, and it's like the size of a grape, and it's like an actual eye. It has like rods and cones and a retina like an eye. It's like an undeveloped eye. And so whenever you visualize something, you're using that. And we call it third eye in the psychic version of it. So you're using your physical, it's in your physical brain, but it's also in your third eye, in your vision. So whenever you're visualizing something, like you're trying to say you're trying to remember something, you can use that you're using the visual part of that. But you could also use, if you have trouble remembering things, you could also use all of your senses. So let's say I want to remember the time I was at a baseball game. I could see that I'm at a baseball game, and in my third eye, in my memory, I could hear the crowd, the umpire. I could smell and taste the beer and the hot dogs, and I could feel like if my team wins, I'm happy. If my team loses, I'm sad. So if you're trying to remember something, you can use all of your senses to try to go back into that point of time to try to remember it better. Your third eye is just one of the tools that you're using to go back and remember something.
Okay, so it is plugged into the brain in the same sense as like basically it will access your memory centers just like everything else, right? It's sort of just plugged into the rest of the system here is what we're talking about. Now,
right.
Okay, so in that sense then, if that's the case with this, tell us about the special things that this pineal gland, the third eye, can actually do. Is there something a little different about this than just the, accessing the database of the brain?
I just believe, when we do creative visualization, I think this is like, the beginning of psychic development. So if you want to, spiritual awareness and all this, learning to visualize is one of the best tools you can use. So you want to start out, like if you're meditating and you're just trying to start out, just try to visualize simple shapes, like a circle, a square, and then actually close your eyes and see the circle, see the square in your memory, in your your vision, your inner vision, and then try to advance to more like a triangle or 3D shapes. And every time you visualize something, like let's say visualize an orange. That orange exists, but in my mind, it actually does exist there. And then if I visualize an orange and then I wipe it away, and then I visualize another orange, that's a different orange than the first orange I visualized. Follow me?
Yeah. So, okay, but they both exist though. Just because you remembered or visualized the second one doesn't mean the first one vanishes, right? There's still two oranges there.
Yeah, so it exists in your mind, in your third eye.
Okay. And then, so then it is sort of a creative visualization center, kind of like what we were talking about, like what science. Have you heard of that term, that aphantasia, where people really cannot recreate something visually? Do you have that, or are you like me, where you can just sort of have like it seems weird, right, to even consider that you couldn't do that. It seems like that's a normal function of the brain in the brain process, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do... it's weird. So, like, if they're asking you to recreate a scene, and then they're like, what color was the person's hair, or what color was the chair, like those details, the brain doesn't take in like stupid details. It's trying to get, to the bottom, to the main focus of the memory. So your brain doesn't remember, brain's not going to remember all those little, minute details. It's only going to remember like the points, the facts of what you're trying to specifically remember. So I think maybe by practicing, like visualizing and trying to like walk into a room and see everything and try to remember what everything was, I guess that would be like practicing that visual technique. I don't know. I've never had that. I can remember stuff pretty good. Like if I can remember it, I can like go there in my head and like remember it.
Like actually visualize it, like you're at a movie or something, right? You turn on the television screen in your head and you can see it again. Yeah,
yes.
That's the way mine works. I mean, you could tell, like I was talking about that Night Stalker thing when the discussion we had a while back with that inner monologue, right? Like I don't know what it would be like to be human without that, because I have this bizarre thing that's just I'm always talking to myself, right? And sometimes you catch me talking to myself actually speaking. But right, like I'll be like, "Oh, shut up, Mike. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares." Right? But it's my brain. My brain is just constantly like the hamster wheel is just like I got a hamster on there. He's booking me. That guy will not stop. And like it's the same thing. I can't imagine removing that or removing that recall of a visualized event from the past, because to me that's what it feels like to be human. If you robbed me of one of those things, man, it would kind of be like being blind a little bit, right? It's so freaking weird. I don't know, man. This is pretty odd. So then with this idea of the archetype of the seer and the pineal gland, do you think that there is through this maybe access of that third eye, we're able to see the past or the future? You think that's a thing?
I kind of believe that. I've never experienced that, but there's a lot of movies and stuff out there. And shout out to Robert that wrote that book. I'm reading his book. And there's this story in his book called Snow Globe. I think he's told it on here before.
Yep.
And that story, that's what you're talking about, how you can change things in the past with your mind. That story like blew my mind. I was like so happy when I read it. It was a good story. So yeah, go read Robert's book. It's really good.
Definitely. Stories from a Fractured Mind, the Robert collection. Links in the description. Yeah, I mean, I read it too. Fantastic story. Okay, so you think there is something not just as simple as memory recall here. There's something a little more actual on the woo-woo train with this, right?
Yeah. So I don't know about the time travel thing, but the way I think of it, this is the way I think of it. There's that saying. Let's see if I can remember how to say it right. We're not bodies with souls. We're souls first with bodies. So we're our soul, and then our body is the physical representation of how we interact in the physical world. And so the way I think of it is, mechs, like giant robots. Like there's all kinds like Pacific Rim, Exo Squad, Gundam, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Right, where the characters are driving these giant mechs, right, giant robots, and so usually the pilot is in the cockpit, is in their head, and the pilot's looking out the eyes of the giant robot, and so that's the kind of way that I feel about it. How I see it is that me, not Matt, but the spirit of Matt, myself, is in my body, in my physical body, looking out, and I'm controlling it like a giant robot. And that's what they say, like, the windows are the eyes to the soul, or the heart is the seat to the soul. That's the way I think of it. I don't know. Do you get that?
Yeah, no, exactly. So that there is again, back to the duality of creation. We've talked about this a lot, but also the duality of the individual, and that there's two parts to us. It's like the meat suit, and then there's something else. There's that spark inside of us. I get that entirely, and that's a good way to put it. Like you can have like a mech and a pilot kind of driving the mech, right? And the mech is just a meat suit. And so just because you remove the pilot from the robot doesn't mean that the robot ceases to exist. It's still there. It doesn't mean that the pilot ceases to exist. It's completely separate, but they work in unison as one thing. And here's the scary part. Do you think in the future we'll be able to separate those two things? That's a whole nother show, but...
I think, I don't know, when we reincarnate in our bodies, we're like, our soul's like crammed, is like stuck with this meat suit until it dies. And then the soul, you just go get another meat suit.
The eternal cycle. Let's do it again. The good game. Let's try it one more time. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Pretty wild stuff to this. I appreciate your input as always, man. What else you got for us?
That's all. Just that's that quote. You're a skeleton, or no, you're a ghost in a skeleton meat suit on Earth, flying on a rock. Fear nothing.
Amen to that. That's back to shout out to Kelly on that one that introduced me to that. And I agree, man. Be not afraid. That's one of the underlying principles of this show is, hey, don't be afraid to talk about this stuff. Don't be afraid to think about this stuff. Even if you think it's BS for the most part, it's okay. Think about it. Consider it. Because what's the difference between magic and technology? Well, we don't know yet, do we? Matt, you're the best. I appreciate it. Matt in California, good friend of mine. Tell Lacey I said hello. Always a pleasure. You're welcome anytime. You know that.
All right, man. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, brother. Have a great night.
Yeah.
That's Matt in California. There you go. And good stuff. This is what I'm saying. This is why we do this in this format, because, like I said, all of the weird imperfections of a live show, the tech issues, the phones dying and stuff like this, right? Me not being like perfectly silky smooth with my delivery and all the things. I kind of don't care, because look, this is what we get. We get all these amazing calls and all these amazing ideas. So what do you think regarding this? The seer archetype, a journey into the mind's eye. What does this mean? Is it just simply like a recreation of a past memory going on, or do you think there's more to this third eye, this mind's eye, the pineal gland, and able to maybe access the past and the future? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Nick in, it looks like Massachusetts. What's up, Nick? Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight?
Hey, Michael, doing good. How are you?
Doing great, man. I appreciate the phone call. What is your thought on this? Tell me you know a little bit about the pineal gland, the third eye, and maybe the mind's eye.
Yeah, I actually wanted to comment on aphantasia and how fascinating that is, because I know part of my daily life is using my imagination and recreating things. Because I listen to podcasts and shows, and when I'm working, it's sort of like having a movie play on, and that's pretty much my daily life. But it's crazy how some people can't have that ability to recreate things. And I was just wondering too, and I mentioned that on the chat, on Discord chat, that do you think like people with aphantasia actually use other sensories or part of like a different sensory type to recreate memories? To interpret how they visualize things. They can't actually visualize, but like how can they process information in their heads without actually visualizing it? So I was just thinking maybe something with emotions or like smells or something,
Yeah, or let's say, what about let's break it down to like the Matrix and say, what if they're processing it in like ones and zeros, right? And so they don't like actually recognize that's what's happening because it's not a visual thing. Like in the Matrix, when they have that big old screen, they got that weird like green code kind of scrolling down. It just looks like gibberish to everybody. But if you can read that, right, you can read it. So I wonder. I think you're onto something there, and that was one of the questions I asked when we started this aphantasia thing. If you can't recreate visual memories from your memory data bank, it doesn't mean you don't have memories. It means that you can't create them in visual terms like most people can. So that's an interesting concept there, that what are they tapping into? Because their memories still exist. But where or how is that processed? I don't know, man. That's a wild thought. What do you think? Do you think there is maybe that individual, that small group of people actually have maybe something we don't, the rest of the population doesn't? Do you think there's something there, something maybe metaphysical or otherwise?
I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, it seems that they do have something very specific in which they do process that information somehow. I haven't encountered anybody who has that, but I've seen on YouTube many examples on what exactly they lack. When people are giving them something to think about, they think of static or something, but it's ironic that they picture something. Maybe it could be like darkness or just be nothing, but like they do have something there which they don't seem to understand, but they do get it. And it just kind of makes me wonder if like, do blind people or deaf people have aphantasia when it comes to those things? Just trying to figure out information.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, actually. So James, a good friend of ours, Salcedo Paranormal, legally blind. We've talked to him about that idea that his brain functions a little bit differently because of his light sensitivity, right? So he spends a good part of the day even wearing a blindfold to kind of keep his eyes healthier, right? So he doesn't have that sort of light sensitivity giving him headaches and things like this. But then the question becomes, if you lose a sense like that, or mostly, even in some cases, mostly lose a sense like that, then what do you have? Is there other things going on in your brain? Your brain power focuses on, like we've talked about this, maybe your smell or your hearing or some other things. But then what about, we're talking memory now, and you can't recall? I don't know. It turns into a super wild thing. It's like, how do you access a memory without a visual, at least a partial visual representation of it? I think, man, like this turns into, I don't know, like straight WTFville, if you ask me, because I can't even imagine that. It's like that inner monologue. You have one too, right? Where like you kind of talk to yourself in your head without flapping your gums. Yeah, right. Imagine if you didn't have that. If it was just like you were chilling and it was like vacant, like nothing happening. like, what is that? That's so weird, man.
It sounds boring. Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely. I've had those weird, like, awakening dreams where when just waking up, I have so much information that it feels that it's not visual, but it's more of a feeling. And those feelings don't really exist in the ways I can explain it. That's sort of what I imagine that would be like, something you can't really explain, but you experience it. So, yeah.
Pretty wild. So then what do you think about the idea of this third eye and maybe metaphysical stuff? Are you into that, or do you think that's either hogwash, undetermined, or otherwise? What's your feeling on that?
Yeah, no, I'm totally into it. I do read the tarot, and the way I sort of read the tarot is more of a emotional thing. When I do readings, I get information just like remote viewing do. Like people, for me, I get shapes, I get feelings, I get emotions out of just the situation, past, present, or future. Doesn't really matter, but I don't get it visually. I just get feelings of it, maybe aspects of it, but it's never visually for me. So I can sort of understand that feeling where, with the, when you're actually using your third eye to grasp information, but it's not visual. That's the thing. So it's like aphantasia, but not really.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I clearly, who I am and what I do here. It's like, I've got the two things on overdrive, right? I'm super imaginative. I love to write. I love to consider like huge concepts and, try and think in abstract terms. And then that inner monologue is on overdrive. So like me, if somebody doesn't have that or do that, it makes me wonder, like, I wonder what that's like. And I don't know. Interesting. Yeah. Crazy stuff here. Anything else to add while we got you on? We got like maybe 1 minute left for you.
Nothing, that's it. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the phone call. Nick in Massachusetts, you're welcome anytime. Always a pleasure. Have a great night, okay?
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Good night. There you go. Simple as that. 702-957-1037. What do you think? What is this all about? Is this, again, just the archetype of the seer? Can you use your brain to actually access the past or the future? And, well, what's going on with this third eye and the idea of the mind's eye? Is it just tapping into your memory, or is it something else completely? Great stuff as always. Amazing calls as always. Well, and that's what we do. That's how we get together. That's how Troubled Minds rolls. And we're going to keep on trucking. We're going to keep on talking about this. What do you think? Is it possible to be a seer in the modern age? Is it possible that somehow, some way, our mind can access information that is not readily available through our memory database? And I say that in the most matrix way. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We got Mark in Alabama on the phone. We're going to go to him as soon as we come back. I see you there. Hang tight. Looking to hear from you as well. What do you think about this? Don't go anywhere. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. More seer archetypes, a journey into the mind's eye, and your phone calls when we return. Be right back. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're taking your phone calls as we discuss this idea of the mind's eye. Is it the same thing as the third eye? Is it different? Is it metaphysical in any way? Are we on the woo-woo train, or is this just an access to your memory data banks and a visual recreation? What's going on with this? Some people say they can see the past and the future with their third eye. What do you believe? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. As you know, this is the question show, not the answer show, and love to have the discussion about this because I think it's important that, clearly and obviously science doesn't have all the answers. It can't. It's impossible, or else we would be lotus pose floating and glowing, and, well, we're not. And if you can find anybody that does, let me know. I'd love to watch. I'd love to take some tips. Here we go. Let's go to, looks like Mark in Alabama. Welcome to Troubled Minds, my friend. How are you tonight? Go right ahead.
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. So I've got aphantasia. I didn't realize I had it until a couple years ago, on the internet, on Reddit or something, and came across the word and took the little test, and I was like, oh my God, I've got aphantasia. And it's weird. I thought I'm 52, and I had no idea. It's really kind of crazy. I think a lot of people that have it don't even know they have it because no one really talks about, what you can see. And the question that I took on the internet was like, try to imagine a yellow banana in your mind's eye. And when I close my eyes and try to imagine a yellow banana, I don't see anything. It's just black. And so when I was younger, I was like, why can't I remember my childhood? Why can't I remember? It's so hard to recall my childhood. And I thought it was all trauma related. And now I realize a lot of it has to do with I can't conjure up images of, the house I grew up in, etc. And it's all, my memory function is all narrative based. So like when you're talking about, you have that voice in your head that talks, like my memory is just words.
Okay, that's wild as hell. That's interesting. So have you ever thought then? Well, like you said, you did. You had trouble recalling things like what the house looked like or things like this. But did you ever consider that there was something amiss? It's all narrative based. That's nuts. So your inner monologue is in triple overdrive, then, right? Is that correct? To compensate for the lack of visual memory? Is that what's happening here?
Well, that's what I've always been kind of like the class clown, if you will, and always had like a good wit, and I like to play with words, and I wrote poetry and did art and did acting and stuff, but so like I think my verbal function, it was kind of overcompensated a bit, and so I can. Words are more fun to me because that's all I have. But, it's really weird. And then I did ayahuasca 8 times, and I didn't see all the crazy geometric stuff and that everyone sees, but I did see kind of more shapes a little bit. It was all behind a veil. And so like it just kind of got a little visual, but barely. So I don't know if psychedelics, can open that back up, that function, or if it's just dormant or non-functioning. But it's really it's weird for sure.
Yeah, it is fascinating. And the way you put that maybe psychedelics, I don't know if you saw recently, they were talking about mushrooms, the old school magic mushrooms, being able to rewire like the brain for depression, and that there were, depressed people have like a particular sort of brain function where information is inhibited from one area to another. And they're saying that like increasing even introducing doses of this magic mushroom, I can't remember the exact name of it, is it'll come to me in a sec, but it is sort of rewires the brain and sort of allows whatever misfunction is happening, causing that depressive state to sort of flow. It's almost like a blocked river. So I wonder, right, in the case of you, like I said, it's super rare. They say that 3% is what the actual, I didn't expect to get anybody to call that had this. So this is amazing. Thanks for listening. Thanks for calling. But I mean, do you think maybe it is? Maybe that, maybe not, maybe it's not ayahuasca. Maybe it's something else, but there is some sort of thing that maybe can maybe reconnect the dots inside, and you could visualize that banana. What do you think?
It's possible. I mean, I'm currently microdosing psilocybin, the hallucinogenic mushrooms, right now for PTSD, and that's why I did the ayahuasca. I found my brother dead from a drug overdose 6 years ago, and I developed PTSD, so really bad depression, really bad grief, had to quit working, etc. And that's why I did the ayahuasca and doing the mushrooms, because psychiatric medicine didn't help. I got shock treatment, didn't help. Tried 20 different antidepressants, didn't help. And this stuff is rewiring the brain. I mean, I'm able to PTSD. You're in this like hole, this like gray dark hole, like your whole world experience is just horrible. It's like you can't see the clouds, the beautiful flowers, like everything is just horrible. And it's really weird because the psychedelics are slowly rewiring those neural pathways to where it's like, wow, I can feel a little bit of joy. Wow, like I can feel the brain sort of turning back on slowly but surely. So I don't know if it'll, if aphantasia is like, it's going to cure that or not. Because, I mean, ayahuasca is a very heavy-duty hallucinogen, and people see amazing visual stuff, and I didn't see any of that. But the experience was just as deep and profound healing-wise. But, yeah, it's weird. And the other thing, talking about the third eye, when I did the ayahuasca, like now the front of my forehead is like tingly and there's pressure there. And a weird thing happened. I started channeling, which I never thought channeling was a real thing. Like I totally ignored it. Like I just, I was like, that's so woo woo. It's unbelievable. Like what are you going to do with that? And it was weird. I had a spontaneous channeling experience while under the ayahuasca. So I don't know if it's just the third eye, but those plant medicines definitely open you up to a greater dimensionality of reality. And it all seems to have to do with healing past traumas, past life stuff. It's really trippy, but it definitely opens you up. And I think it's working on stuff, but as far as the aphantasia, I don't really know if that'll ever change.
Gotcha. Do me a really big favor. If that starts to change, can you call us back and update that? I'd appreciate that a lot. And you are correct too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Psilocybin, that's what I was looking for, that term. Also, quick question for you from the Night Stalker out there. Says this. He says, what does the caller experience when he reads his story? What's that like? Is there no mental picture? Do you not see it? It's only narrative based, just like your memories?
Yeah. It's just narrative based. And I wondered why certain, like I like sci-fi and fantasy novels, and, something would be super highly rated and I'd be reading it and there'd be a lot of description, pages and pages, this field, this mountain, this, that, and the other. And I just want to skip it. I would always be like, God, this sucks. But I realize now in retrospect, the reason I didn't like those like lengthy descriptions of the landscape, etc., is because I couldn't see it. So I gravitate towards first-person narration, like Murder Bots, or I can't remember other titles, but where the protagonist is speaking in first-person narrative, or Dresden Files. Like, that's so much more accessible for me to understand and enjoy, because I can't visualize any of the, descriptions of the castles, etc. And then I just get bored and annoyed with it because, but I didn't know.
That is so wild. That is so wild. You ever read Anne Rice? I always say this. She's one of my favorites. And she had this way of like describing like a curtain for 3 pages. It was so enthralling. So that would just infuriate you, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't find it. Now, what's odd is poetry is more evocative for me. So I don't know, not that I read a whole lot of poetry, but like I can appreciate a good poem better, but I think that's because it's touching more on the emotional, like I definitely am much more sensitive, and I don't know if that has to do with the aphantasia or not, but I'm definitely a feeling type person and verbal. So I don't know.
Okay, I apologize for the guinea pig session here, but we got another question for you from the chat. Oxyuki Love wants to know, do you dream in pictures like watching a movie? What are your dreams like? How does that affect this aphantasia?
Well, yeah, that's a hard one, because it's like they are in pictures. However, when I wake up, I can't recall the pictures per se, but I know when I was dreaming, it was in pictures. So when I wake up, I can write down pages and pages of what happened and can recall it, but it's like the images are behind a gray, black nothingness void. But I know sort of in my gut that when I was dreaming, it was visual. But when I wake up, I can recall everything, and like, oh, there was a river, there was a lake, I got in this car, I was driving down this road, I did this, that. I can recall it all, and it's like I can feel a hint of the visual nature of it, but it won't portray itself on my mind's eye. It's just black, but I can describe it still. It's definitely like being blind, for sure. It's that's the closest thing I can come to conveying what it's like. If you close your eyes in a room, you can describe the room, but if your eyes are black, you can't see the room. But it's kind of like that.
That's wild, man. That is absolutely wild. So here's a fascinating part about that. So your brain, when you're dreaming, seems to bypass that aphantasia and give you images in a dream state. So doesn't that lend to the possibility that our dream state is actually stepping outside of us somehow? That's wild, bro. That turns into a whole other thing, doesn't it? And then in your waking moments, it's narrative based again. That's nuts. Matt says the astral realm. What's your take on that? That's wild, man.
Yeah, that, and like when I did the ayahuasca, like it definitely, like I could sense and sort of, it's all behind a veil of darkness, but like there was like an octopus person and they were doing stuff like healing on me, and there was red kind of geometric shapes, but it was all behind a black veil. Like it was just coming through a little bit. So it is definitely an odd thing. I'm definitely bummed about it. I feel like I'm missing out on, good stuff. Like, but now I know why, like, I try to remember like my first girlfriend or something. I can't remember her face. I was like, okay, now I know why. It's not because I'm like, a horrible person. It's just I can't recall people's faces.
That is absolutely wild to me. Man, I appreciate you calling so much. Thanks for chiming in here, because again, it's like right, sharing experiences is what this whole conversation has always been about. This is why we do it live, like I said, because you never know. You never, like, somebody out there is experiencing these things. And Mark, always a pleasure, my friend. You are a first time caller. Where did you find us? Where the hell did you find us, man?
Oh, paranormal radio app. I'm actually in West Palm Beach, but I lived in Alabama for a while. But yeah, the paranormal radio app.
Okay, fantastic. Do me a favor, don't be a stranger. You're welcome back anytime, man. 7 p.m. Pacific, we do this and we talk about all kinds of crazy stuff. And best wishes to you in the healing and the microdosing and those things, and the PTSD and the depression, frequencies, prayers, vibrations, whatever it is you believe. Troubled Minds Nation, send them out to Mark in Florida. I appreciate the phone call, my friend. You're the best.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Have a great night. Thanks for calling. Yeah. There you go. Look at that. Hey, honestly, I was hoping we would get somebody that would call tonight that had aphantasia, and because it's so rare in the community, in the world, I didn't think we would get somebody, and bam, just like that. Like I said, like I always say, you never know who's listening. You never know who's listening. Thank you very much for the call, Mark. Mark, not in Alabama, but also Mark in Florida. There you go. Send the healing prayers to that guy. Looking to hear from you. 702-957-1037. That was a fantastic call. Still talking about the seer archetype, a journey into the mind's eye, and this idea of aphantasia. What does this mean? What is this all about? And now we know it's a narrative-based concept that your memory cannot put mental pictures together from your memory. That's pretty wild. Let's go to Daryl in Florida. Welcome to Florida. Daryl in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds. What's up? How are you tonight?
I'm fine, Michael. I really empathize so much with your last caller. I feel so bad. I'm so sorry you're suffering this, but I just looked up something for you and I posted it in the chat, and it looks like there's people that are like, there's support groups for you, and there's like exercises that can help you overcome it, apparently. And there's a book that was written about it, so check it out. I hope it helps. I feel terrible. I feel like it must be very difficult with that. I had a couple of thoughts.
Sure, I hear you. I'm with you.
I have some notes. Oh yeah. So this is so weird. I was talking to my best friend Marsha, one of my best friends. You're my best friend. But I can't believe we were just talking about this today. And we were thinking I think there are three kinds of people. I think there are people that are like asleep, there's people that are awake, and then there's those who are hyper aware. The second caller I was agreeing with, there's a certain awareness that we all experience sometimes, like deja vu, deja rev, already dreamed it or already said something. Then we were talking about these remote viewers that can see timelines in the clouds. Marsha's really responsible for this conversation. And they can see the past, the present, and the future. And no matter what timeline they are on, kind of seeing the same results. I'm not going to go into that. But then I was thinking about, Marsha thinks that we are the watchers. We've talked about watchers, right? She thinks that we're the people that are watching what's going on. I don't know what that. Then I was thinking about people that witness crimes. Have you ever noticed they all can remember different things? Have you ever listened to the descriptions, they remember totally different, this one had was blonde, no he was brunette, no he was white, he was black. They all have different memories of the same crime. They were the same witness of crime. So how do those discrepancies happen? Then I got a long list, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Real quick, Daryl, you're a little bit quiet, and it's fine. You're barely cutting out. I turned up your volume. If you can do that volume trick you did last time and just pump up your volume, I'd appreciate that.
So sorry. I'll do that.
That's okay. That's good. You're good. It's very minor, but just letting you know.
I'm going to try to just up it now. I think I am up here all the way.
Okay. Lean in a little closer and speak up a little louder then. Appreciate it. Go right ahead. Danny says, I hear you fine. That's because I literally, I'm my own mixing, my own board guy on the fly, so I jacked up her volume. So I put her to 200% because she was a little quiet. That's why I wear headphones, by the way. I could do this without headphones, but you can't really get like a true determination of the mix unless you literally have like the left, right, and like a really right. Anyway, so that's why I wish I could do it without headphones, but you just can't tell sometimes. Like I can hear fine, or somebody else can't, or pitches and things. Anyway, you there, Daryl? Test 1 2. Test 3 4. Uh-oh. Did we break it by adjusting things? No, I can't hear you at all, Daryl, if you're speaking. If you're speaking, there's absolutely nothing going on right now. And, well, all right. So we're still talking about this, right? The seer archetype, a journey into the mind's eye. And the thing is, right, this idea of aphantasia. Wild stuff, right? Like, thank you so much for Mark calling in and enlightening us. Like I said, it's so strange that we have the brains that we have and they're wired the way they are. And I think that's the craziest part about this is that in these terms, like I always say, we're all different. Like, and that should be the thing that fascinates us about each other, right? Like, again, like I always say, like the reason I do this is I want to talk to you guys. I want to know what I'm missing, because my experience is only mine and your experience is only yours. But once we start sharing these ideas and these experiences, right, you start to see, and here we go, back to the seer archetype, you start to see other things. And the thing is with that, regarding that, there are other ways to see. Do you understand? So it's not just your mind's eye. It's not just being able to maybe tap into the pineal gland or the third eye or these sorts of things. But you can see by experiencing through other people as they teach you, as they teach us, as we teach each other. And you see, there are many ways to do this, and this is pretty amazing stuff. What's up, Kat? I see you over there on the Discord. How are you? I mean, this is wild. This is one of those things where it's like we're all a little different, and a little different to me is a good thing. Like I mean it. Like I say this when I say, look, I actually admire diversity. I think we need to be different to learn from each other, right? If we were all the same, how boring is that? Literally just like the most boring garbage ever, all right? Well, if we're different, you see what happens. See what happens. There's some pretty wild stuff going on out there, and that's why I think that these conversations are so important, because nobody talks about them anymore, right? There's some places you can find it, again, like the Paranormal app or the Fringe FM, or you can find troubledminds.org, all the rest of that. But it's so difficult anymore for these conversations to happen because people think you're insane. They think you're nuts, right? They're like, oh, you didn't vote blue, did you? I'm like, I wasn't talking about voting. Like, why do we always got to go there? I just don't understand. Like, I didn't vote red either. But you're right. I didn't vote blue. Right? So it's like, come on now. I don't know. It's so stupid anymore. It's so stupid that this is where we're at. Daryl, I cannot hear you if you're there. I'm sorry we cut you off. I should have just shut my mouth. But anyway, get back to us in the third hour. Go ahead and reboot your machine if you can hear me, and we'll get back to you in just a sec. That fixed you last time, but I promise I didn't break anything on my end. I didn't mute you accidentally. Oh, she bounced. Yeah, I think she's rebooting. Okay, so here's what we're going to do, right? As we finish this, the question is, there's a lot of questions, all right? There's all kinds of questions, and they just keep coming, all right? They just keep coming. The more you think about this stuff, the more of this type of stuff really sort of starts in rabbit holes inside of rabbit holes. And keep an open mind. Not so open that your mind falls out, but keep an open mind. And that's what this is all about. It's just about getting together and having a discussion and considering all the things that many people may not. We don't do these things because they are easy. We do these things because they are hard. As it goes, if you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. And it ends like this. Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. Sorry about that, Daryl. I feel bad about that. We'll get back to Daryl in just a sec. She was trying to fix her audio for me, and I'm just I hate labels. I hate labels, guys. But I've got a confession to make. I am an audiophile. We're still talking about this. We got Daryl coming back in a sec. We'll get back to Daryl in just a moment. If you want to talk about this and keep doing the thing, we're going to keep doing the thing. You can reach the show at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We're talking about this idea of aphantasia. How come some people cannot see the picture in their mind's eye? They have no mind's eye. Mark in Florida told us, hey, it's narrative based. He's got it. He wondered why he couldn't picture things from his past, and it's not because he was a terrible person, as he said. It's because it was a function of his brain. Pretty interesting stuff. Great stuff. I love the fact that we can just throw an idea out there, even though it's super rare in the population, and there's enough people listening that somebody will pick up the phone and say, hey, Mike, I got that. I can tell you all about it. Appreciate that very much, Mark. Here we go. We're going to keep on trucking, talking about this stuff. You tell me, what about the seer archetype? What about a journey into the mind's eye? What about aphantasia? What about seeing the past or the future through your pineal gland or the third eye? Don't go anywhere. More Trouble Minds on the way. 2-minute break. 2-minute break. We'll be right back. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, and Twitter. And we are now off the fringe, but we're into the third hour, which means, hey, if you got a potty mouth and you can't not drop an F-bomb on the radio, now is your time to shine. We can do all the crazy stuff we want to do. Just don't say anything that gets us taken off of YouTube. I would appreciate that. But, an F-bomb here or there, it wouldn't hurt a damn thing. And again, apologies to Daryl. I asked her to adjust her thing, and it broke everything. And, well, here we are. So sorry about that, Daryl. We cut you off there. Whatever the hell happened. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. How are you? Now
Can't hear.
Cutting out. Yep, you're cutting out.
Cool.
Okay, all right. That's all. Okay, well, hold on. I'll get Daryl on the phone in just a sec. Appreciate that. Going to mute you and remind me to unmute you later. All right, so yeah, right. I should have just shut my damn mouth. It was fine. It was fine and good enough, but it was low. It was a smidge low. And the reason why you guys heard it and you heard it the way you heard it and I heard it differently is because my output is just so. It has a decibel boost and a limiter, so she was quiet, which I was hearing here in my headphones, which is the mix, the master mix, right? Comes from my headphones. But then for the output on OBS into the stream itself, I have a decibel boost and then that limiter. So if she's quiet, if somebody calls in, they're super quiet, it will pump them up, but then also limit it so it doesn't break on the top end. So that's why you guys heard her fine. I was having trouble hearing her slightly. So anyway, that just to explain, this is not a conspiracy. This is just Mike is an audiophile. Robert says, "Oh no, the aliens abducted Daryl." All right, I see you there, James. Hang tight. We're going to go to Daryl. I've made her wait twice now. Let's go to Daryl in New York. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Oh no, and the phone died right as I. All right. Well, let's. There we go. So we're still talking about this. As Daryl calls back, because she's going to call back, the seer archetype. What about the mind's eye? What about this idea of aphantasia, and that some people actually cannot actually visualize certain things, actual visualizations of memories? Interesting. Mark called from Florida there, and he was telling us that he's got it. He's got aphantasia, and it's everything is more narrative based. And we've heard this idea, right, in the past that some brains are more predisposed to visual art, and other brains are more predisposed to let's say narrative based writing and things like this, right? So there you go. I wonder if it's not so cut and dry as this aphantasia, but also if there's like shades of gray in there, in that right, that whole predisposition of certain things, including writing or visual arts or whatnot, right? Pretty wild stuff considering all the things. And wow. There we are. Here we are. I have no idea. I wish I had the answers. But what do you think? Again, this idea of the third eye, the pineal gland, the seer, the mind's eye. What about all this? Is it related? Is it not? Is it two separate things? Is it the same thing? Can you use it in a woo-woo metaphysical way to maybe see the future or the past? All open-ended, non-linear. Love to hear your thoughts on this. Let's go back to Daryl in New York. Sorry about that. Go right ahead. I think we're okay. Cross your fingers. Everything's working. What's up, Daryl?
Okay, I hope you can hear me on my phone.
Loud and clear. Go right ahead.
Is that good?
Perfect.
Oh, thank goodness. I'm so sorry about that.
No, you're okay. It happens.
Sorry.
Next time I'll just shut up because it was good enough, and I should have just shut my damn mouth. But go right ahead.
I'm going to try a new computer. I don't know what to do. Anyway, I was I don't know where I was when I was. I don't know what you heard. I'll just start with colorblind.
Sure.
Are people that are colorblind and anaphylactic? And Fantasia. Wasn't she a Romanoff in the Russian, the Tsar's daughter? Or wasn't that a Disney movie, Fantasia? Anyway, Anastasia.
I think it was Fantasia.
Never mind. Mind.
Daryl's got jokes.
Fantasia and Anastasia. Anyway.
Right, exactly.
This is Fantasia. Okay. So, I was thinking also about, did you see the guy the boy that was on America's Got Talent who was autistic, and he was prone to seizures until he figured out that he could really sing and play the piano, and he never learned a lick of music in his life. He was just a total, impresario. Did you see that guy? He won.
I don't think that particular guy I'm familiar with. No, not the particular guy, but I am familiar with, they say that the greats were like that too, that Beethoven and Mozart that were like that. But yeah, I get the idea.
But this guy was totally, yeah. They might be deficient in one area and amazing in some other areas, genius level, So I wonder what their level of, awareness are. And then I was thinking about the people that are Akashic Records fluent, J.J. Lewis, Clyde Lewis's wife, is fluent in the Akashic Records. How do you get that? They're not real records. There's no library you could go and check them out in. They're just out of thin air. So what is that? So there are three kinds of people. There's kind of medium, small, and large, or maybe we all had this ability before, and we were all genetically modified to dumb down so that we wouldn't be capable. So we couldn't see what's going on. I think because I think those people that remote view can see a clear picture of what's happening and what's going on, in the past, present, future, whatever. And I think I'm done. Amazing recall, colorblind, lucid dreaming. Well, lucid dreaming. Just wondering about, remote viewing and astral travel. Is that a form, what aspect of reality are they in, and how vivid is those images for them, And, I was thinking one more thing. People that, say they're reincarnated, do we regress to other species? And then I thought about other species on different planets, like a platypus on Pluto, we're not necessarily going to come back to Earth, Earth might not be here when we reincarnate. Did you ever think of that? It's not going to necessarily be here forever. Everything seems to live and die, right? I don't know. These are just random thoughts I was thinking about.
No, those are great thoughts. Those are great thoughts. I think the most fascinating part about this to me now is, so we started with this seer and sort of that past, present, future, being able to see through the pineal gland, the third eye, things like this, Edgar Cayce or Baba Vanga, which we may get to tonight. We may not. That's okay if we don't. But the point is that I was okay, thinking in those terms. But now Mark's call has got me thinking in wait a minute. So maybe this idea of this aphantasia and not being able to visualize things through your mind's eye, and he was able to do it through his dream states. It suggests that the dreams don't actually happen in your brain then, right? I mean, that's fucking wild. So we've talked about that before as sort of a, let's throw the idea out there as maybe it's an astral travel situation, or there's a dream world or a dream universe, or even multi-levels like Inception. But maybe it doesn't happen in your subconscious at all. Maybe your dream state steps out of your subconscious, and, well, that's where all those experiences happen. Holy shit, right?
Think about one more thing. Think about the shark that never sleeps. That's one of the only creatures that doesn't go to sleep. Like, what do they visualize? I was just thinking about sharks. Like, they don't dream because they don't sleep, right? So what do they, what is their visual? I'm sure they're very visual, probably. They're probably extra visual, but they're probably really tired and cranky. That's why they're sharks, right? Anyway, that's just a crazy thing.
I'm tired and cranky. That's why I'm Mike. No, I got you.
Yeah.
So
can you imagine not being able to dream or sleep,
Yeah.
What did they do wrong in their past life that they can't astral travel or dream or sleep, And what if we didn't have to dream or sleep? Like, what would life be like, if we were sleepless all the time?
I have a feeling that sharks can sleep. I think sharks can sleep. I think just science hasn't figured out how they do it yet, right? They got to have like an autopilot. Like, you just, you turn on autopilot and you're just cruising, and you just, I mean, you have to, right? You have to. That's not the way life as we know it exists.
Maybe they astral.
Yeah, right? Go ahead.
Right? No, I was thinking maybe they astral travel, like, or they go out of body to relax, I mean, maybe they have some kind of dealer down in the ocean that can hook them up or something. There's something that can, ayahuasca or something. I don't know. The oceanic kind of high. I don't know. Maybe it's just great to be weightless all the time. Maybe that's the problem. It's gravity gravity makes us age. I think it's like, I don't know. I am rambling now. But they're kind of weightless. They're flying through the water,
Yeah.
They have no, no resistance.
Sometimes the inner monologue just goes out of control, and you're like, how did we get here? How did we get here? That's okay. Welcome to my life, Daryl.
I had a rough day.
I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. You're totally fine.
It hasn't been easy.
You're totally fine. I'm sorry to hear that.
I'll tell you later.
Okay. Frequencies, vibrations, get back to good. You're the best, Daryl. I appreciate the phone call. Always a pleasure.
Love you too. Sorry about everything.
You're good. We'll talk to you later. Have a fantastic night. Great stuff as always. Thanks, Daryl. There you go. Daryl in New York. Daryl has a YouTube channel. Check it out. Links in the description down below. Let's make her day a little bit better by giving her some follows on her YouTube channel. She sings in English and French. She's got some other stuff on there, including some stuff about Morgellons and all kinds of other things. So go check it out. Fantastic stuff from Daryl as always. You 100% were not off your game. I was more making fun of myself than talking about you. That inner monologue, I tell you what, it just gets away from me sometimes. Like we'll start talking about, I don't know. What happened last night? I don't know what happened. Like last night, shit was just so off the rails. I was like, wow, how did we get here? How did we get here? What's up, Brittany? I see you there over on YouTube. How are you? What's going on? Hope everybody's doing well tonight. We're kicking it, having a good time. And Matt says, Mama says alligators are so mad because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush. I saw that earlier up in the chat and from somebody else, and I should have read that. Matt said it, but I think it was a repeat from above. So a shout out to whoever left that. Sorry about that. Great stuff. All right, let's get the hell out of here. Meaning, let's keep on trucking. 702-957-1037. We're talking about the seer archetype, a journey into the mind's eye. What about this idea of aphantasia, and that people with this affliction, whatever this is, cannot actually visually represent their memories? Like Mark called, I think was a great way to describe it. He tries to close his eyes and visualize a banana, and he can't. He just can't. It's like black. It's like darkness. And like everybody knows what a banana looks like. He can open his eyes and see the banana, but he can't close his eyes and from memory visualize the banana, right? And that's a great representation of what this is. So what's happening with the brain here? And again, is this related to the seers or the third eye or the pineal gland, or is it completely unrelated at all? It's just, we're all different, and being different's a good thing. Like I always say, real diversity is a good thing. Division, politics, diversity, well, All right, this is a completely other thing entirely. All right, so let's go to 702. Looking to hear from you guys. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We'll put you on the show. It's as easy as that. Let's go to James in Michigan. Welcome, James. Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, brother? How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Always on point with that audio, James. It's almost like you do this a lot. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm here. Just great topic. Great calls all night. I really do think you kind of mentioned a little while ago that are there shades of gray or are there variations to, from person to person? And I think that's the case. And I think there can be even different causes for that. For the, let's say, the visualizations in the mind, I think there can be this aphantasia, and I think there could also be, this is not something I know, I haven't looked into this, but I think people that are blind to different degrees or legally blind, like in my case, I can just say, I can imagine almost like a blurry image of things, but I can't ever get a sharp image. And I also can't, like, I can't get I can't basically remember the faces of anyone that I know well. It's always blurry. It's always it doesn't ever seem quite right when I try to think of someone visually in my mind, and they don't appear even as bad as my vision is. Like when I see them in person, it's even worse of an image in my mind.
Okay, so we're not saying that you have this aphantasia, but your brain works in different ways because of that legal blindness, and that you don't necessarily remember everything visually, or if you do, it is sort of smudgy or blurry, or right? Like so it may not be that you have that affliction, but it is based on your lived experience and how your memories get stored. And again, back to that idea of people that writers versus like people that paint, right? Completely different thing. I can't paint to save my life. I'm not a visual arts person at all. But again, right, like we're talking different people, different experiences and all the rest of that. But I've always been pretty fluent with words and, kind of concepts and ideas and the rest of this. So I don't know, man, that like the world's a crazy place. So you're saying ancient astronaut theorists say yes, that there is some sort of shade of gray here, and maybe other people see things differently according to many things, not just this aphantasia, right?
Yeah, and now I think there is something to that. We all have our strengths and things are not so strong, and I wouldn't even really call them weaknesses. We're all just have certain things that we do better at than others.
We're different. Different's okay. Yeah, different's okay.
And because I can remember. Now, even though I can't remember, visual, like I can't think of a memory of someone's face that I know, I can play back their voice. Like I can remember their voices really easily in my mind. I could hear anyone that I know, that I listen to on a regular basis, I could hear their voice in my mind pretty easily.
But not the faces. The faces don't come easily.
Right, exactly.
That's so there is. So there's not. It's not just a simple curtain where it is or it isn't. There are versions in between. I love that. What about the idea? Do you know about this? I'm sure, being the paranormal expert of troubled minds, you're aware of the idea of the pineal gland and the third eye. What's your thought there?
Yeah, I've heard of it, and there have been people that have suggested that. With the number of paranormal experiences I've had, that maybe that is what is causing some of them, or many of them, and that, and when I say experiences, I don't need to get into all of them, but just to give everyone kind of an idea that doesn't know me, I've had a lot of paranormal dreams, in other words, dreams where they were more than just dreams. They seem to be out-of-body experiences, visitations from loved ones that had passed on, those kind of things, and also just other experiences in while I'm awake in different places. quote unquote ghost stories. Again, I think ghosts are many different things, but people have suggested that if I practiced more at actively trying to sense all these different things, that I could get better at it. I don't do that because I have enough to do. There's such a thing, I think, as too much of that stuff going on. I'm just more of an observer, but I think that they could be right, and I think some people do that. And then there's also, again, everyone's different in the level of that sensitivity that they maybe are born with, and then there's a level of that they develop, or they become used to it. All those, I think, are factors in all of that.
Yeah, meaning that life is complicated. There's and this is the worst part about like the identity politics and all the rest of this. It's like it's always based on like things that aren't complicated, right? Like they want to pit us against us about actual things we can see or hear or write stuff like this. But it's like, come on now, like skin color or languages people speak, things like this. But it's also like, hold the fuck on, because life is complicated. It's not as stupid as you guys are trying to make it politically. And like I said, true diversity is we can learn from each other no matter the walk of life, right? And that's it. And I get there's all kinds of injustices in the world, period. But I don't know how the fuck we got here. Inner monologue out of control. But right, I mean, life's complicated. That was the point, right? That's I'll bring it back around. So I do that from time to time. I'm okay bringing it back around. Now, what are your other thoughts on the rest of this, James?
I'm just trying to think because there's so much. But everyone has had great calls tonight. It's I really have enjoyed everyone's thoughts on all these things. I just feel like maybe we could all become better at possibly seeing things, and I think there's such a thing as learning how to do things. And maybe we could all become better at maybe seeing things in our mind if we practice more, at least in some cases, maybe even to some degree. But I think there's something to that. I think it's, again, it was something I never thought of before, but I've had several people that didn't talk to each other over the years say, well, did you ever think that, the reason that you have had these paranormal experiences is because your let's say your paranormal sense is compensated for your low physical vision in that way. And I don't know. I think that's possible.
Hey, all kinds of things are possible. That's for sure. It is a strange world we live in. James, you're the best. James here at Salcedo Paranormal. He's got a podcast. He does a paranormal talk 5 nights a week, and he is a good friend of mine, a good friend of the show, and he's the paranormal expert of troubled minds. Just don't tell him that. And give him a follow. Links in the description down below. He's got a podcast. He does it live, very much like we do on Discord, 5 nights a week. Like I said, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Go say hi to James. He's fantastic on the show. He's a more fantastic human being beyond that. You're the best, James. Always a pleasure, bro. You're welcome to stay right where you're at.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone else and see what I can add to it from there.
Okay. All right. You got it. Thank you very much. So let's, we're still looking here from you guys, talking about the seer archetype, a journey into the mind's eye. And, well, here we are. You tell me, what is this about? This, I didn't expect actually to talk so long about the aphantasia. It was sort of an idea into the idea of the mind, but, again, you guys, with the fascinating takes on all the rest of this stuff and that great call from Mark in Florida, he's like, hey, I got this. And I can explain to you sort of how it works for me. Wild. I didn't expect to get that, and that's the beauty of doing it live, because you never know who's out there listening. So appreciate that. I appreciate all you guys being part of this. Let's go to 702-957-1037. Let's go to Kelly next, and then Jennifer, I see you on the line. We'll go to you after that. Kelly in Colorado. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead, my friend. How are you tonight?
Hey, how's it going, man? Good topic tonight. This is one of my favorites.
Thank you, man. Go right ahead. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so like with the pineal gland, right, the seat of the brain, it's also known as the eye of the mind, third eye, the eye of truth or insight, the eye of God inside the mind, and inside the human mind. But the reason why I came across this, because all my ancient stuff that I like to dabble in, and I ran across this with the Egyptian, right? The Eye of Horus, which is, it goes all through that what you guys been talking about. So it's the center of the brain, which is the pineal gland, and that it combined, and what it does is it's combined with the spiritual practice. This is what the Egyptian is. It's combined with the spiritual practice of meditation. The light from the pineal gland will continue to expand the light to the pituitary gland and the hypothalamus, right? So, and if you take the Eye of Horus and you take half of a brain, the center of all those glands in the center of the brain resemble the Eye of Horus. And the Egyptians kind of separated that in six mathematical parts of the Eye of Horus, and each one of those touched those type of all those glands: the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, the thalamus, the pineal gland, and how they separate it is in halves, quarters, eighths, 16ths, 32nds, and 64ths. And the halves, they account for the smell. It's like all the senses. The halves can account for the smell. Quarter represents sight. Eighths represent thought. 16ths represent hearing. 32nds is taste, and 64ths is touch. Right? So when they're talking about, that's like the master glands that are all in there, the seat of the mind, the seat of God, or the seat of and the human mind. All those, the third eye. That's where a lot of religions, Hinduism and also Buddhism, it all just comes down where this ancient, even the ancients knew what the whole power of the human mind can do, like the pituitary gland, and it's known as the master gland, right? It regulates vital body functions in the most of well-being and, your overall well-being. And it regulates all the other hormonal glands that secrete other hormones throughout your body. Pineal gland, that one's not even actually understood. Most scientists don't even understand it. One of the main things they know is one of the things it secretes is melatonin. And melatonin, that's what regulates the archaic rhythms in your body, which is your sleep patterns. And how we we're, an animal of this planet. So, the rotation of the earth and everything, right? And and that melatonin, that's why most people that, they can't sleep, they have a lot of issues, is their lack of that. So I tell most people to get a lot of sun. Hypothalamus is the nervous system, and it controls most of body temperature, your temperature, your thirst, and other type of hormones, sleep, stuff like that whole pattern. So all these glands in the brain are secreting all these things. But the seat of the brain, which they don't know about, is the pineal gland, which, it feeds all the light, what they call it, the light, and that's where it kind of interesting, where me and Michelle was when I started reading a lot of that, was we started getting into what they call, I talked about this before, I don't know, so I'll kind of mention it here, for the other people that might have not heard about it, but it's called sun gazing. One of the main teachers of sun gazing, or they call it eating the sun, he just passed away just this last March 12th. His name was Hirarada Manet, right? He was a teacher of sun gazing. He actually he was actually in he was in a couple documentaries. It was called In the Beginning There Was Light, and one called Eat the Sun. He did a 411-day fast in year 2000, and Ahmedabad, I think the city name was. And in there, they did, they wanted, because he was saying we're just kind of like most plant life or other life here on the planet. You get a lot of your energy or your nutrition from the sun by sun gazing. And the purpose of that was, people think you can't look at the sun, but there's 2 times you can, because there's 0 UV index. The UV index is 0 at the times, and it's an hour after sunrise and an hour before sunset. So it's to train your body to adjust to it for a while, and then you can, you gain. You're supposed to be grounded on the ground. That's one of the main things too, as well. But yeah, it's it's very, you know, everybody has their own journey while they're doing that, but it's incredible, man. And like when we were doing it, you do lose your, you know, your sense of appetite. You know, you really don't need that. You're full of more energy. That's how I felt anyway when we did it. But, you know, you kind of think about that too is, you know, I think governments already know about this. You know, scientists have been studying all this, and that's where you get that whole, you know, the whole thing when people say, you know, they're dumbing down society. It's not with only through schools, but through chemicals, you know. You know, they do it with the fillings in your teeth. It's got mercury, right? Fluoride, you know, it calcifies your pineal gland. They're all about, with all these chemicals, they're about calcifying the pineal gland. And you know, how we were trying to find a decalcifying that, right? And sometimes there's some stuff like, you know, you're doing the ohms, a lot of chanting like that. You know, there was a lady I found on YouTube that had, you know, some a very good, it was probably about half an hour long of the techniques, but and staring at the sun, you're supposed to only stare at it like a few seconds a day. They said 10 seconds, so that's what we went by. 10 seconds a day up to until you reach 40 minutes. And then you can work your way back down. But we did it, when we worked our way back down, we did it, you know, in segments of like 10 minutes or 20 minutes. But the whole point of it is, you know, it's just, you know, it's to regulate your pattern of your body to and expand and explore your pineal gland by decalcifying that. You know, there's other ways you can do it too. And they tell you once you're doing it, you know, you can hear like in the middle of your head, and it's weird too. You could hear like a crackling sound, and it's, you know, the pineal gland decalcifying itself. You know, if you're doing these types of you know, things to help decalcify it, you know, some of the stuff that we eat as well, you know, just it's all these chemicals that the body's not used to that's calcifying the pineal gland. And what you're trying to do is awaken it. So if that's the case, you know, and the ancients knew it back then, you know, that's why it was very intriguing to us. And we still do it. We haven't done it, you know, since, but when we lived in California, you know, we lived on the beach, so it was easier there. But yeah, it's pretty incredible, man. If anybody check it out, you know, you can just Google search it. It's pretty neat.
And it's called sun gazing, eating the sun, right?
Called sun gazing, but the documentaries he was in was called Eat the Sun, and then the other one, the one I seen, was called In the Beginning There Was Light.
Okay, all right, fantastic. You've brought that up a time or two before. I appreciate it. Never tried it myself. That's one of those things I need to do. I have been known to be awake when the sun comes up, so I may as well take advantage of that. Kelly, you're amazing, bro. What else you got for us tonight?
That was it, man. I just wanted to bring, you know, the points of that, but it's interesting to me is like that's where, you know, because, you know, again, there's nothing new under the sun, man. This is all these ancient techniques. You know, some people would call it like, you know, saying bourgeois, or it's all just hogwash or bullshit. But I find it is, man, when I did it, I find that it was actually very enlightening, you know. So it's all about meditation, you know. That's what the main thing it is. It's a type of meditation, but it's actually, you know, using the power of the sun. And the sun is very powerful. Like, you know, we talked about that too. Just just try it out. You know, you don't even, some people, I don't know if they don't like it, but most people that I've known that ever tried it, they just keep doing it, you know, and doing it because you wake up, man. It's weird. It's a great feeling, but check it out.
Okay, will do. I appreciate it, my friend. Kelly in Colorado, longtime friend of mine, longtime friend of the show. Always a pleasure, bro. You're welcome to stay right there. Tell Michelle I said hello. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of this, bro. All right, let's do it. Let's GTFO. Let's get on to the next call. 702-957-1037. We're going to go to Jennifer. Then we got Danny after that. Thanks for being patient with us, guys. Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome to Troubled Minds. Go right ahead. How are you tonight?
Hey, Mike.
Good evening.
Doing good.
Right on.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to this, you know? And also, like, in the imagination, I think that, like, all beings without bodies are living in the imagination, and that, like, even our body that has no body is in that realm, and that it's possible that, you know, all things that have ever been or that are ever going to be or even things that might be. Basically, everything is existing. Even what's happening right now, like all current events, are also happening in some other way, and that we're just symbolic of what's happening in that realm in a way. So, as if like right now, everything I'm saying right now, it's there actually, and I'm just trying to transfer it here, and they're doing the same thing. And it seems like as if, like and I believe in unseen beings, and it's possible maybe, and I mean, I'm not the only one. Like throughout the entirety of time, there's been this belief that there are unseen forces that are working in between the veil there. They're going back and forth, kind of lining things up, and that every individual has a daemon of types, or a guardian, if you will. And like the idea that everybody has this, and it's kind of their link to that realm in a way. And generally, like you wouldn't be even aware of it. Like you're just kind of living your life and you're in the present moment. But there's always this type of interaction occurring continuously, never ending, like never ceasing. And when you're sleeping or you go into like an out-of-body experience, like people have reported having, some people have mentioned that they've had those types of experiences. In those cases, I think that they are somehow accessing it in the current text or in the past. And I think that a lot of people who are like psychic or seers, in a way, like not all the time, but in some instances, I think that they are picking up on, through divination tools and things like that, events that are happening and have happened, and they're looking at it like a pattern. And they can kind of see what's going to happen next based off of the pattern. If they can see very clearly and are very honest with themselves. And I think people like that can do psychic work, like divination and stuff like that. From what I've heard of like old stories, though, like when you're going to see something that's nothing to do, well, everything has to do with all of us all the time, but like something that's a really big event in the future, or something that was an immense thing that happened in the past, it seems to me that you have to almost have an exchange with these unseen beings. That on some level there has to be some kind of conscious exchange going on, like a price that has to be paid. Like in the story of Odin, like he pays a price to the fates, to the Norns. He has to sacrifice his eye, and he hangs on the tree, the Yggdrasil, or Israel, or however you want to say it. But he has to pay a price to be able to see, because he's having communication with those beings that have no bodies, but they're in control of the entire realm. Like they're in control of that realm, and they're operating to see that it comes to fruition in this realm. And I think sometimes too, like it's possible that if I'm aware of, like, if I'm kind of trying to really look at that realm, like in my own imagination, and I'm thinking a lot or daydreaming, and somehow like someone else is doing the same thing that I will eventually come into interact with, because perhaps those unseen beings are kind of lining it up, so like a pattern of sorts, so that it seems like we're doing it, but we're not. Maybe we're not doing it, and there are unseen things laying the foundations of all of these events that happened, because that's the myth of all the fates and everything. And it's the myth of all of the different beings that have no bodies. And we have some level that has no body too. I mean, technically, that's the thing that's separating us, is that we're in this realm of body and matter. But there's a lot going on there, much more there than here. And all those events are never not happening there. Anyway, I don't know. I think that people who, though, are going to see into the future, it's typically through some kind of a price. Like there's an exchange that occurs for the information. Otherwise, I think that human beings, because of our body, because we're in the body, that we can only kind of see what's currently happening, and possibly if you're at some ability where you're, I don't know, I don't think it's very typical, but even so, I think that it's possible, that people are tapping into what others or their guardian or their unseen force that's not themselves sees it and lines them up with it. If there's a communication kind of going on there of some sort where there's a receptivity about it, like where they're okay with it, if the person's willing to kind of be open to the idea, they may perceive hunches and things like that. But I think in the case of psychics and divination, that they're looking at patterns, that they're looking at things, that the way things are going, and they can kind of see where it will be going. And the better you are at that, the more likely you can do something along the lines of kind of the future. But it's more about like a puzzle and seeing where things will likely go. And that's more of kind of how I think it's working. I think to actually see the future, you have to have a relationship with a demon. Or like
whoa.
Someone.
Wait, there's a price. Let me ask you then. So I fancy myself as a sort of modern day soothsayer, and I mean that in that I don't have any sort of like psychic connections at all. But I read a lot and I watch news cycles very closely, and I'm familiar with the past, recent past, and right, like I'm sort of locked into that whatever that zeitgeist is, as it's always changing, right? So is it possible then to do that without having that exchange? Because I don't want a demon on my back, Jennifer. What are you doing to me now? What's going on right now?
I think no. That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying at the beginning. I think that like a lot of people who want to know, like want to give a really sure answer of what's going to happen. For example, if you were like doing divination, some people would claim that they truly do see the future. And this is my personal opinion. I think you see the patterns that will likely lead to the future. And I think to truly see the future, though, like a future event, far off event that could never be known, I think that is somewhere a scenario where you may pay a price. As it's been said, like even in the cases of Merlin and all these different beings, like all these different people, supposedly human, which I'm sure they were, I guess, they had to have a relationship with something that could see that realm because they had to go beyond space and time. They had to get out of space, and you're locked into the natural world. To get out of it, you have to contact something that lives in it, that's where it's native to. And so I believe this I believe that there's a connection going on there where there has to be some kind of an exchange. But I think in the normal, like you're talking about, and you're, where you're kind of a seer yourself, you've paid attention to what's happened in the past, and you're keeping your finger on the pulse of what's constantly happening, and you're on it, more so than the average person might be. And therefore, other people, if they were to ask you, you'd be giving a very wise perspective. You'd be like a watcher on the wall of that information, and you would be able to give a better idea of what will likely happen given the circumstances and the patterns you can see, because you're seeing clearly, very clearly. And I think that people who can do true type of work, they're like, oh, they're psychic. I think in a lot of cases, not every case, because I think sometimes these people do have, I think it's extremely rare, like almost non-existent, where there might be people who literally have a connection with in the case of the Witch of Endor, she had a spirit of a dead person. They're called, I can't remember what the word is now, but because I wasn't prepared to talk about that. But they have instances where these certain individuals possessed a spirit. They had something. They had a demon. They had a ghost, a dead person, who they were in relationship with, and they are communicating with them and getting the information because those beings are on a level that's beyond space and time, and they can go and know things that you can't know. But those things exist in the realm of imagination, but you're limited as far as you can go. I think you're limited to your own experiences, and you're limited to the personal experiences of others on the current level as well. And I think there's a reason for that, because there's this, you're breaking some kind of law by knowing, beyond what can be perceived from patterns and from seeing with clear sight based off of the past and how things are going, like you're talking about. I think a lot of people who do divination are doing that. I know that I do. If I'm ever trying to do something like that, it's based off what it seems it's going to be, and that it can change. That's why people always say that they always have that nice little, entertainment only, and it can always change because they know themselves on some level it's not set in stone. But I believe somewhere it is. But I think you can't see that because that's related to the threads of fate. And something knows that, but you don't know it because you're a human. But I think that there's some way to get past that. But I don't think it's something anybody should ever do.
Right. So, okay. So I got you. So it's one thing to actually, Night Stalker in the chat said the same thing. He said, look, Mike, I think you're probably a synchro mystic in those terms. And we're trying to pulse on the zeitgeist, riding that wave. And it's a human thing. It's possible. But then once you step outside of that human shell, like you're describing, and ask for more, which we do not have access to naturally, it becomes an unnatural exchange, is what you're trying to say here. I love it. As always, by the way, shout out to Tam Bam over on Rockfin. Tam Bam says Jennifer is brilliant. just wanted to let you know.
It's very special, though. I don't think that, for example, what you do and what others do, when they are able to really see, that's extremely uncommon. Most people don't have the forethought or the interest to pay that close attention or to even look to try to see. So I think it is, even in the scope of ourselves, extremely valuable and rare gift and trait. That it's true that it is extremely rare and most people don't have it. But I think the other thing I think has to do with something paranormal going on. But it's a cool topic, Mike.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to get off here.
You're the best. Jennifer has a YouTube channel. Check it out, as you know, and as Tam Bam says, and if Tam Bam says it, it must be true. Jennifer's brilliant. Give her a follow. Links in the description. Check out her YouTube channel. A little birdie told me there may be a Michael Strange sighting on her YouTube channel. One of these days, let me know, Jen. You're the best. Thanks for the call. Always a pleasure.
Soon enough.
Thank
you, Mike.
Have a great night. Thanks a lot, you too. There you go. As easy as that. 702-957-1037. I say easy as that, but also Jennifer's brilliant in the same the same sentence. Follow Jennifer. Well, sorry, Danny. You got to follow Jennifer. Let's go to Danny in Kentucky. Welcome to Troubled Minds. How are you tonight? Thanks for being patient with us as we get through everybody and all their thoughts.
Oh, no problem. Oh, gosh. I think I need to mute my YouTube page. No, it's done. Okay.
You're good. No weird audio artifacts. You know me. I'll freak out if there are.
Yeah, no,
you're totally fine.
Echoes and
nope.
Yeah.
All good. All good.
Well, first, wait. Well, do you have something you were going to say first?
No, go right ahead.
Oh, okay. First, I have a little comment on the Genesis thing from the previous caller. When you're raised in the Bible, you remember Genesis saying, in the beginning, God created the heaven or heavens, depending on who you ask, and the earth. And then it says it was formless and void, but that's kind of the kicker on that. If you study the actual you can look at the interlinear translation or meaning. You'll notice it really says the earth became formless and void, and that's something we're not told. So that's a whole mind blow right there. But
okay,
I don't know. That gets me because it's a thing for me.
Became.
But outside of that,
real quick. Explain to me. Like I said, yeah, you're so far ahead of me, smart wise. I have to slow you down. Explain to me. No. Just. I mean it. So meaning that. Explain the void. Wait. I think.
Well, so the very beginning of what we would think of as a mainstream modern Christian as the Bible, the Holy Bible. The Genesis starts off with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and the earth was formless and void. but it doesn't actually really say that. It says it became formless and void, but they don't write that in the book. But it actually, if you go look at the actual root word of it, it says it became, like something happened and it became formless and void. Like it was all good and stuff, and then it wasn't so kosher.
Okay, I see what you're saying. The interesting part too about Bible stuff. If you guys never read this book, by the way, I'll pull it up actually in a sec and give you the actual thing. And I know there's kind of the scholarly Bible stuff, and like you're talking translations and what the actual the original, whether it was Aramaic or Hebrew or whether it was actually in Latin in many cases, where this stuff came from. It depends. Like you kind of got to really speak a bunch of fucking languages to really know what that original intent was. And I read this book. It came out of Berkeley Education, by the way, berkeley.edu, and they teach it there. And so again, whatever you think of Berkeley and California and the politics, I put that aside. But the point is that it's interesting that you get these individuals that are Greek. Sorry, Scott. Yeah, all that it was all that. It was translated so many different times. But my point is that it's fascinating to hear somebody's take on, let's say, the Dead Sea Scrolls and some of that type of stuff that goes so far back, and the translations they've been sort of bastardized over the years. Just like Lost in Translation, like we talked about that movie with Scarlett and Bill Murray.
Johansson, and Bill Murray. Yeah, I love that movie.
Fantastic! It's so good. If you guys haven't seen that, go watch that. Lost in Translation, Scarlett Johansson, Bill Murray. So good.
The subtleties of that one.
Yeah. And who did that? Who was that? Howard,
heck
right?
If I know.
I think it was I don't know. Anyway, whatever. So I just got too many thoughts coming out of my brain. I cut you off. Go right ahead. But I want to just point out that translations are
excited.
interesting. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, actually, if you think about it though, like Genesis itself, between like the first and second, I think it's the second chapter. It's been a while since I've really been deep in that stuff because. I spent 40 freaking years doing that. So
sure.
But there's a 500-year gap between a couple chapters in Genesis, and people don't really realize that. They don't know that at all. You're not told that this chapter of Genesis was written 500 years before this chapter of Genesis. And the people that wrote the other part were nowhere touching the other people, Well, I think some of them were. I really think that people lived. I do personally believe that people lived a really freaking long time, and that we could. Honestly, I really do believe that.
It says that in the Bible, doesn't it?
It kind of does.
It says it, yeah.
And then, oh gosh, not the Emerald Tablets, but what's that? You brought up the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's actually, I think it was 1940 something that was found.
When they discovered it.
There's not a consensus on the Dead Sea Scrolls. That is more to me. I don't want to hate it so much, but it seems to be a little bit of a Catholic apologetic. And it was it was just too quick that it was accepted as, well, that's it. This is legit, and we're not even going to argue. It was right away. Typically, you would think something that impactful would get a little more scrutiny, but it didn't. And, well, not by mainstream. Mainstream is hey, gung ho, but
as always, I think it depends on who you ask, which is fascinating
exactly
about all this. Real quick too, that book is called "Who Wrote the Bible" by Richard Elliott Friedman. They do teach it at Berkeley. I read it. It's fantastic. If you guys haven't and again, scholarly stuff to me, you always grain of salt with everything. Don't buy anything hook, line, and sinker, including anything I've ever fucking said, by the way. So if it comes out of my mouth, make sure you triple fact check it, just because I'm not trying to fib to anybody, but I'm not right about many things, and so always fact check me and everybody else. But do check it out. Who Wrote the Bible? Richard Elliott Friedman. If you're into that, it fascinates the shit out of me. I love that. Like you said, that the translations here are so far off in some cases that, we could be confused as just a basis on that. But anyway, go ahead. Continue with
no, I mean, that's something that was really hard for me to even acknowledge. I was raised Pentecostal, and like my dad's side of the family was Pentecostal, and my mom's family were Jehovah's Witnesses. So like, what is that, right? So what do you do with that? It doesn't work. And so it was a thing for me. I had no choice but to like be deep up in that Bible, like from as soon as I could read. And the whole like the Pentecostal side is all King James only, and like why would you say that? Because there's an agenda behind that if you think about it. And then you have like the Jehovah's Witnesses with their New World Translation thing, and we're pedophiles but don't tell anybody kind of thing. And
that's that's the Saturn
worse
cult.
than the Catholic Church.
Saturn cult. Yeah. I got you.
It's nasty, really, but it is on all sides if you think about it. Like, why does someone want to establish a big giant church with tithing? And I mean,
hey,
I don't know. I'm not seeing a corporate worship situation being honest or real in any aspect, really.
No. Well,
But-
I mean, I think branding is like sigil magic, right? I mean, like for a guy that doesn't believe magic, I think that's what it is, right? It is brainwash. It is sigils. It is what was the old terms? Like I said last night with the old Coke slogan, right? It's like, I don't know. It's like we remember jingles like they're fucking magic, and it's like,
Yeah.
fuck you, Oreos. I don't care. I don't want any.
Do you remember
Oreos,
like
right?
the Dentine?
Yeah.
Like the Double Mint and
Yeah.
oh gosh,
Yeah.
there's so many.
Like don't trigger one in my brain because I won't get rid of it for like
Right?
6
No, they
days.
never go away. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
'Cause they don't go away.
I'm with you. I'm trying not to do it as well. It's just like, yeah, it's sick. It's like it is magic. It's like that earworm magic.
It
that's
is.
supposed
Well, it
to,
is.
Yeah, manipulate you or whatever. Yeah.
Well, and think of like the notes in the jingles themselves. They're like they're mathematical. They really are.
Of course. Well,
You know,
and-
like
perfectly.
The Fibonacci things
yes.
casting
Well,
spells.
I mean, that's
and
music generally speaking, but like mathematical manipulation, mathematical is a little bit different, isn't it?
stuff. I don't know.
No,
But-
not different than. Wait, what if you and me speaking right now we're speaking in musical notes? By the way,
Right. Well, we're casting upon each other just this conversation. And
Hey,
gosh,
Dan-
now that
Danny.
I say that, I don't realize like
Danny.
the word conversation.
Danny, you shall not pass.
Right? Okay.
All right, there you go. Sorry.
I get it. No, I get it.
I'm broadcasting from a
Backing
circle
off.
assault. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. What are your additional thoughts on this seer archetype, the journey into the mind's eye? What's up with this?
Well-
I'm sure you got some great thoughts here.
Yeah, well, I was thinking about like the whole what Jennifer was saying, like the Yggdrasil, like because I'm actually Norwegian. Like most of my DNA would be Norwegian, and like the proverbial tree of life thing. And I don't care who you ask, it's an ash tree, and it's got its roots, below the ground and the branches above, representing like the as above, so below thing, which is totally smeared by like pop culture, all the Baphomet thing, and it's way beyond that. Come on, it's more of like the Taurus field, like the energetic realm that we live in, and all of the interactions between energies manifesting the physicality that we experience. I think that's what it really is. But going back to the original topic of the show, I do actually have sort of, I think, a in-between perspective on seeing and not seeing. Well, I mean, I do. Like, I have the ability to go back and imagine, memories and the visual, like creative visualization thing, but I have narcolepsy. So my pineal gland is like, there's actually a lot of people in my family that have like an affliction of the pineal gland. And so it's a thing. It's kind of wonky. And so I don't really recollect a time where I didn't have really vivid dreams. And when you brought up the you early, like, or really early in the show, you were like, I'm not sure people can actually like levitate style, sitting lotus shape, whatever. But ever since I was little, I had dreams that I could do that. And I never saw a reference to such a thing. So I don't know. I think it could be true, because I really feel like when we're dreaming, we're actually more in touch with something more real than when we're not. And so I think it's backwards to what we would perceive, conversationally in this superficial awakeness that we're experiencing right now.
Yeah, I love it. You know what's super fascinating too about all that you just said and how it ties back into all of the rest of this is that living in that upside down, that inverse of, like you said, the misperception of things, of ourselves, of the world around us, of the universe at large, all the rest of that stuff. But then also in that dream state, meaning that holy fuck, like we kind of talk like in general terms in the show of like, well, what about this? Well, what about that? What if this is the thing? And that's the thing, right? And I think that's fascinating and amazing, right? And it's okay. It's drinking the maybe juice and all that. But then Mark calls in from Florida and he's like, no, I've got that aphantasia.
Yeah.
And my dreams are actually vivid, but once I'm awake, I can't remember them in visual terms. I mean,
well, you have to write them down before you get out of your bed.
Well, no. So he says he can remember them in narrative terms, but not. His memory doesn't work in visual terms, but his dreams are visual. You see, it's almost like the dream world is intentionally outside of your brain state, and that's fucking wild to me. Like that right there. He described it in perfect detail that he can, Pearl Jam. He dreams in colors. He dreams in red, right? But
I dreamed in blue just a few days ago. There was somebody wearing a shirt, and it was blue. And people always want to say, "Do you dream in color? Do you dream in color?" There's gonna be like a clickbait kind of title on some article on Bing or something. Do you dream in color? Are you one of the 1% that dreams in color? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't really think about it or pay attention to it, you might not realize. But I do. You probably do.
I do too. Yeah, I do.
Definitely.
The black and white's weird. Yeah, I've never.
But it's something that we might not have really even thought about being something to consider until someone else brought it up. Because really, I feel like I'm probably like the ultimate conspiracy theorist now at this point. Like everything's a conspiracy to me, literally. And I don't know. I think everything is a subliminal suggestion to keep me from recognizing what I would find to be true and real, which I have no freaking idea what that is, but yeah.
Hey,
it is what it is.
Reality. Hey, that's all. Yeah, that's all. I mean,
it's like butter.
This is butter. I mean, but that's the whole point of the conversation, right? It's like but
yeah, like who the fuck?
Yeah.
What do we know?
What do we know? And I think that's the beauty of it too. I think even Aristotle said like the enlightened people. He didn't use that word enlightened, but like he himself described like one of the greatest thinkers, right, of classic antiquity. This guy basically said the most valuable thing that I do know is that I don't know anything, right? Something to that effect is like a bad paraphrase, but I mean that's the truth, isn't it? Like as you sort of find answers, you also realize that it opens up a new branch of questions for every, quote, answer you've found, which means in some end, I think this is my take on this, and I think this is why, to me, this show became as it is, that magical state of so many amazing people coming together, because my take is, I think honestly, in my soul of souls and my heart of hearts, is there are some things we're not supposed to know. I think there are mysteries of the universe that humans are not allowed. You actually shall not pass. And I think in those terms, well, it sure as hell makes a fascinating conversation, doesn't it?
I do agree with that, yes. But I think there are people that would suggest that there are some things that we could or should know, and they would like us to think that we should not. And it's just because they want to have some sort of edge up.
Yeah, the old bait and switch. Like, here's what you should be looking at, the old shiny object, when we're all over here doing the right thing.
Yeah,
and you're,
squirrel.
Yep, yeah, or Kardashian's booty, right? It's like, come on now. Like,
She can't leave her house without her Spanx.
Right? Something, I don't know. Just the shiny object is always a shiny object, and yeah, here we are. Yeah, wild stuff. So just back to this, in as we round this out here, what do you know about the pineal gland, the third eye, and the rest of that? Do you think that maybe there is, like maybe as Jennifer suggested, there's a price to pay for sort of dipping into forbidden knowledge we're not supposed to access?
I think that is something that we have to explore individually, because that's a really hard. You can't answer that for someone else. That is entirely subjective at my current view, because coming from a biblical literalist evangelical space, essential oils are evil. You're inviting demons by using vanilla and lavender, right? But the gland is in your head. It's there. It exists. And I have a disease of that gland. So that I've been told is something that I should take medication for to suppress the experiences that I have. Because I was born having, astral projection frequently. And I have premonitions, but mostly only in my dreams. I have dreams of what would happen the next day, but they're entirely subjective. They don't have to do with a grand scale for other people. It's sort of like a personal message, but they still happen. So that's biblical too, if you want to think about it, dreams kind of thing. But I don't think you can answer that question for another individual. I really don't think you can do that. And that's all I have to say about that.
Oops, I muted myself. I said I like it, and I think that I think that's not the only thing either. I think as part of being, again, Troubled Minds is the question show. I think it's more important to ask the right questions for individuals in those terms, because like I always say, I don't think there's one right answer about these general things. I think, like you just described, and I agree with you 100%, that your answer, your correct and true answer for you, may be false for me, but it doesn't mean,
exactly.
But it does not mean in those terms that it was the wrong question. It means it was the right question, because it's whittling all of that down to what makes us different and also what makes us the same. And like I said, like I'm going to continue to say, I mean this, value of diversity in thought is a critical thing for me. I want to hear what people think from all backgrounds, from all religions, from everything, from non-believers, from believers, from everywhere in between, right? And that's the point. Like a lot of people that are, some might call me, again, I hate labels, but some might call me agnostic, right? In not just with God, but all terms. But I don't think it's a weak position. I think it's to me, it's a position of strength in that I want those answers for myself. But I think in asking the questions and having this forum and these conversations, it brings us all closer to our personal answer. It's valuable. It's a good thing. It's like I said, there's no reason to be afraid of evangelicals or, you know what I mean? Like whatever terms you want to throw out there, there's no reason. I continue to say this.
Right, they're in their own space.
Yeah. I mean this, that our differences are insignificant to what we have in common. And we just, as people, are led to not kind of follow that path.
Not live and let live. Because if you can't have a conversation with someone who disagrees with you, then what the hell are you ever going to learn?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Not a damn
Not
thing.
a damn.
Not a damn thing. Yeah. So yeah, there we go. I think it's good stuff. I think that's what this is all about. It's about, and remember guys, in those general terms, me, myself as well, don't forget, right? Like, as convicted as you can be about this, that, or the other thing, you might be wrong, and you might change your mind tomorrow, right? So don't be so douchery about stuff that you want to just kind of dump on people because they're right and you're wrong. You see, that's what they want to use against us.
Change your mind as often as possible.
Amen to that. That's a. If that's not a saying, that should be a saying. That's a Danny dash.
That's on a T-shirt somewhere.
That's a T. It's got to be on a T-shirt somewhere. 100%. 100%. All right. So we're down to the end here. What are your final thoughts, Danny?
Wherever you go, there you are.
There it is. and there it is. Wherever you go, there you are. And also there it is. And boom. Always a pleasure. You know you're welcome back here anytime. And so we've got one that can see. And there we go.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate that.
Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for being part of this. All right, let's roll it. Anybody else in the chat out here on Discord? Let's go back to who's been waiting the longest. Let's go back to James, and we'll say James. Then we'll go Kelly. Then we'll go Daryl, and then we'll get the F out of here. If you guys have anything, if you don't have anything, that's cool. James, what you got for us, my friend?
Great conversation. All great calls. I definitely. I think that there is something to the dreams, the dream state, that whole experience. There seem to be so many different things that happen, or that can happen when you are asleep. I say that from experience, just based on my own experience, and but also just from what I've heard from other people. And I think that's part of the seeing as well, or at least it can be. And I think that's that.
That's that. Appreciate it. Great stuff as always, James. Let's go to Kelly, and then we'll go to Daryl, and let's wrap this up. Kelly, you still there?
Yeah. Hello?
Yeah, I hear you. Go right ahead, man.
Oh, none. Yeah, man, I don't know. Like, for me, it's the power of the mind, right? The power of, like, whatever they want to call it, like the pineal gland, the seat, right? But that's why, I don't know, I've been on this, me and Michelle have been on this destructive journey for trying to unleash that power. So who knows exactly what it is, like I said, ancients been talking about for millennia, not only Egyptians, but, throughout all the ancient societies, right? Kind of with the golden, they call it like the golden era or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, for me, man, I that's something that's very powerful, because, like I said, there's times where I've been on meditation, and it was during sun gazing, like it is. It's a very powerful meditation tool, but yeah, I mean, maybe this is some of the stuff that we need to, explore, that is like the hidden knowledge that, it's not, I wouldn't say it's not for, I wouldn't want to say that it's, meant for not everybody, but who knows, some people are in different levels of their life or whatever they're living, so, but, that's why I just want to put out some of the knowledge that I ran across too, is just like everybody else. I had a good call tonight. But yeah, man, just enjoy your guys' trip if you guys do it. It's pretty nice, man. It's something that you should probably look into.
There you go.
I don't want to push it on anybody, but hey, expand your horizon. You never know. So, but yeah, and good topic tonight, man. And you guys have a good night as usual.
Appreciate it, bro. You too. Always the best. Kelly here in Colorado. All right, let's go to Daryl in New York. What's up? If you're there. Oh, sorry, her Discord's broken. We'll catch you after everybody. Frequencies, vibrations, good vibes to Daryl. She had a bad day. Let's Troubled Minds Nation fix her day right now. All right, so let's get the hell out of here. As it ends, it goes like this. I'm going to smash the button. We're going to play this. You guys know the drill, right? The bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we have tomorrow. And that entails all kinds of things. That entails conversations. It entails answers, or personal answers, not societal answers, because I think those are fleeting. I think they are changing with the wind. I think they are I'll hold my tongue. Difficult for me. I think they're poison is the best way to say it. The one answer fits all is dangerous. And I think that's the point, right? And they want to tell me, right? The world wants to tell me, Mike, you're a conspiracy theorist. Mike, that synchro mysticism stuff that Night Stalker talks about, it's ridiculous. On and on and on. Right? But what's more dangerous? Billions of human beings in one-size-fits-all treatments or personal answers that are meaningful to ourselves. And there you go. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. And I will fight for your right to have your own personal answer. And that's why we do this show. That's why we discuss it in the manner we do. That's why I don't give up. Because let me tell you what. Without the darkness, there is no light. Carry the torch. Speak loudly and clearly. And be not afraid. And there we go. Let's get the fuck out of here. All right, as we finish, what's up, Zai? Shout out to Zai in the chat. How are you? Thanks for being the bunny out there that sprinkles the troubled minds fairy dust all over the internet. Thank you, appreciate that. All right, let's get the hell out. Here's what we're gonna do. Right, it's a Friday night for Troubled Minds, which means we're done for the week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific. If you want to help the show, there are a number of ways you can actually troubledfans.com. Troubledfans.com. You can buy hats. You can buy stickers are up there now. There's a mouse pad. There's stuff like this. More stuff coming. T-shirts and whatnot. Working on them right now, and the stuff will come up. So that's what's happening here. And Rockfin, you could sub up on Patreon. You could sub up on, of course, Twitch if you want to do that. You can do that for no additional cost with Amazon Prime. And also, if you don't want to pay but you do like the show, you want to support it, spread the word. If you want to help, go listen to an old episode. There's 392 episodes on the podcast feed. 392, and I probably left 200 of them out. Like, we've got so many conversations back there. Again, we're not right. I'm not right. But a conversation's a good thing. Go listen to the podcast feed. You can find it on iTunes or Spreaker or Spotify. It's one of the big ones. Oh, you tell me. Wherever you like to listen to your podcast, go listen to an old show while you're cooking dinner this weekend or something. It helps the show. Kicks a few cents my way. And that's that. All right, let's get the hell out of here. As it ends, it goes like this. Actually, wait. Sometimes I talk too much. Let's do this. Let's do this. This is from James. Trust yourself. You know more than you think you do. From Benjamin Spock. And from me, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night.